And my father's here fighting for you, and he's never going to let you down. So please vote. Let's get this country back on track. Thank you so much.
I shouldn't have done that. I got to follow that now. I'm not going to follow that. So kids, go back to work. Let's make sure everybody shows up tomorrow to vote, okay? Thank you. Beautiful job. They're great. They're good people, and they love our country, but they really are good people. They're kind people. They have big hearts. They're strong. They can be nasty, but they have big hearts, those great children of mine. So here are some of the facts. Kamala is a radical left Marxist, rated even worse than crooked Bernie Sanders and crazy Bernie Sanders. I don't know, do I call him crooked? I'd say probably crazy, maybe for him is a better term. And Pocahontas herself. Kamala destroyed our economy. She was an original creator of defund the police movement, and therefore anybody who wants to defund the police even for one day, and she was there for a long time, is not worthy of being president of the United States. We need our police. We want to get our police back. We want to indemnify our police when they're unfairly charged. Kamala vowed to abolish ICE. She pledged to confiscate your guns. Would anybody like to give up their gun? No takers? I didn't think so. And endorsed a total ban of handgun ownership. You know that. She even called for free sex changes for illegal aliens in detention. All at taxpayer expense. And perhaps, worst of all, she lied. She never worked at McDonald's, okay? Never worked. No, she never worked there. I was there for 15 minutes. That's 15 minutes more than she worked there. And I have to say, those French fries are really good when you get them right at it at fat or whatever the hell they cook it with, fat. I don't know if it's good for you, but they are really good. In conclusion, with your vote tomorrow, we are going to fire Kamala and we're going to save America. We will cut your taxes, end inflation, slash your prices, raise your wages, and bring thousands of factories back to America and back to Pennsylvania. We love Pennsylvania, something about it. Think of the history you have here. Think of the history you have, the political history. Is there any place like it? And this is a big one because think of this, put this, add this with all of the other things that are, you know, for so many years famous by Pennsylvania and what you've done and how you fit into history. We win Pennsylvania, as I said, we win Pennsylvania, we win the whole bag of wax. We can have another one. We'll put that one on top. Let's try putting that one on top. They're pretty big, we have to, but this will be one of the truly big events in the history of our country. So why don't we have Pennsylvania be there for that? That'd be beautiful, on top of all the things we did. Because remember, we gave you the largest tax cuts in history, the largest regulation cuts in history, rebuilt our military, defeated ISIS, had no new wars, gave you right to try, the great, incredible thing that's saving thousands of lives, right to try. You don't have to go to Europe or Asia or just go home and die. If you have no money, you go home and die. They have the right to try new age medicines without having any problems, saving thousands and thousands. And we gave you so much, and it's an honor. It's an honor, really. We will build American, we will buy American, and we will hire American. I will end the war in Ukraine, which would have never started if I was president. And I will stop the chaos in the Middle East. There's another thing, Israel. October 7th. October 7th would have never happened. All of those people that were hostages hopefully are still, because I hope they're of hostage. I just hope they haven't been killed, but I think a lot of them are killed. I think a lot of them have been killed, but we can hope. But that would have never happened. That would have never, ever happened because Iran was broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for Hezbollah. We would have had peace in the Middle East. You would have had peace. Instead, you have all of the death that's taking place. It's terrible. And I will prevent World War III because you're just around the corner from World War III, and this will be a war like no other. This will be a nuclear war. And this will not be two army tanks going back and forth and shooting at each other. This will be a war. The level of power of these weapons is, I rebuilt our nuclear force. I rebuilt our whole military during the 40s. We did a phenomenal job of that, but in many ways I hated to do it. In many ways I hated to do it with respect to the nuclear. Because they're going over the power levels of various things that we're rebuilding, and I say, General, are you sure about that? The power is just crazy. It's obliteration. And we have people that don't have a clue, and they're negotiating. Look, Ukraine should have never started none of these things. How about when you look at Afghanistan? That would have never happened. We were going to get out of there with strength and dignity, and we were going to be, was going to be a victory. It was enough. They were in there for 21 years or something. But the one thing I would have done is I would have kept Bagram, the big air base, one of the biggest bases in the world. We built it many years ago for billions of dollars. The most powerful, longest runways that can handle anything in the world, 1 hour away from China. Remember, that wasn't really for Afghanistan. That was, you're 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. And you know who has it now? China. These are stupid people. They took the military out first. They took the military. They said, oh, we had a plan. We had a plan. Mike Pompeo made the plan with me. We had a plan subject to all these different things that they had to do. They weren't doing them. They were doing some, but they said, hey, we're not going forward until they do the other. We were going to be fine. But the one thing that wouldn't have happened, we would have never taken the military. You take the military out last, and we lost 13 lives, and many people obliterated, and hundreds of people were killed on both sides. We will crush violent crime and give our police the support, protection, resources, and respect they so dearly deserve. We will strengthen and modernize our military. We will build a massive defense shield all around our country so a missile heads in our direction and we knock the hell out of it. Then we can have it. And Ronald Reagan wanted to do that many years ago, and he was right, except we didn't have the technology then. It would have been not good, but we didn't have today. You can shoot a pin out of the sky. It's incredible, actually, what they've been able to do. But it's all going to be made in the USA, and a lot of it is going to be made in the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We will rebuild our cities, including our capital in Washington, D.C. We'll get rid of all the graffiti on those beautiful marble columns, and we'll clean it. And it'll be properly run, and we'll stop the death and shootings and muggings and everything. We'll make it a great capital, beautiful capital again. And we'll also make sure that our Supreme Court stays to 9 justices. We will teach our children to love our country, to honor our history, and to always respect our great American flag. And we will get critical race theory and transgender insanity the hell out of our school. And we will, of course, keep men out of women's sports. Every time I say those last two things, and I may add the open borders. Can you imagine they're trying to defend open borders? Open borders, who would do that? We're the party of common sense, okay? We're really the party of common sense. But when I say open borders, we're going to close the borders, you say, can you imagine you actually have to say that? What the hell? I mean, who the hell wants open borders where criminals from all over the world can just walk into our country? These are crazy people, or they hate our country, or they think they're going to get these people to sign up and vote. I guess maybe that's it. But it's not defensible. But think of the last two. The transgender insanity. It's taken over. And nobody's ever come up to me and said, I'd like to talk to you about that. I've never had it. They've talked about taxes. They've talked about economic development. They talk about or the last one, men playing in women's sports. Nobody's ever come up with all the people. I deal with hundreds of people. I deal with people. I go into crowds. I ask them because I get better opinions from you than these crazy consultants I have for a fortune. But I've never once been said, sir, we have to do something about keeping men in women's sports. I've never had the question. I don't know. It's such a big subject. Nobody's ever asked me the question before. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Go back 10 years and say that a president from 10 years from now is going to be up there defending the fact that men should not play in women's sports. People would say, you're crazy. That'll never happen. Did you see the two boxes? Did you see the two boxes? They were men. They transitioned into womanhood. And they fought a very good Italian. They have women's boxing in the Olympics. And they fought a very good Italian young lady. And boom, she got hit with just a left jab. She went back to her corner, said, I've never been hit like that. This was just like a defensive. Oh, they could fight Iron Mike, I'll tell you. Iron Mike would say, this is not a good thing. I know Iron Mike, and he's a great guy, Mike Tyson. A great guy. He's a good man. Hey, Mike's been through a lot, but he could fight. Let me tell you, that guy could fight. But can you imagine Mike? Oh, he says, put Mike in the ring with Kamala. That would be interesting. No, but can you imagine? And these two men that transitioned, you'll be shocked to know they both won gold medals. In some of the easiest fights, they're announcing a certain woman. She's a champion here, a champion there. She's great. She gets hit. Blah. That's the end of the champion stuff. It's so unfair. It's so ridiculous. And it's very demeaning to women. I think it's horrible. I will defend religious liberty. I will restore free speech. And I will defend the right to keep and bear arms, our Second Amendment. And I did. They didn't touch it. After years of building up foreign nations, defending foreign borders, and protecting foreign lands, we are finally going to build up our country. We're going to defend our borders, and we're going to protect our lands and citizens. And we will stop illegal immigration once and for all. We want people to come into our country, but they're going to come in legally. That's all. We will not be invaded. We will not be occupied. We will not be overrun. We are an occupied country. Can you believe the things I'm saying up here? We are an occupied country. Take a look at Colorado. Take a look. Take a look what's happening there. Military-style weapons. Aurora. They're taking over apartment complexes. They're in the real estate business just like me. But I have to go out and borrow money or somehow pay cash. They just walk in and they say, you're paying the rent to me from now on, madam, and if you don't pay, it's big trouble for you. And the governor has no idea what the hell's happened, that poor guy. He's a radical Democrat. We will not be conquered. We will be a free and proud nation once again. Can you imagine? I have to say this. Everyone will prosper. Every family will thrive, and every day will be filled with opportunity and hope, and filled with the American dream. But for that to happen, we must defeat Kamala Harris and stop her radical left agenda with a landslide that is just too big to rig. We got to do it. So you need to get out tomorrow and vote. That's it. This is it. We're going to get together again, but it's going to be different. It's not going to be a rally. It's going to be applause for what we're doing. It's going to be better. Because these incredible rallies, and there may have been like 900 of them, a tremendous amount. This is over 9 years. Many, I know we celebrated 507. I remember 507, it was a few years ago. I think it's got to be close. I don't know, whatever it was. But it's hundreds and hundreds. And they've been flawless, right? Every once in a while I'd make a little aggressive statement that people didn't like, but don't forget I'm rarely on the teleprompter. Isn't it nice to have a president that doesn't have to be on the teleprompter? Right? Right, Dan? Isn't it nice to have a president that doesn't have to be on the teleprompter? Right, Dan? That guy, look at that guy. Stand up. That guy, he's such a good guy. You better bring him home because he has worked so hard in the election, Dan Muser. He's worked so hard. And you know what? Think of it. Think of it. If we lost, I'd call him up tomorrow. I'd go, I won't say it. Franklin Graham said, please don't use foul language. I said, all right, Franklin. He said, you can tell the story just as well without the foul language. Actually, he's not right about that. It's not quite the same. When you don't, every once in a while, not a real bad word, but like a word. But he did say that, so I do my best. But I'd call him up with anger and fierceness. I'd say, you failed me. As opposed to calling up and say, Dan, you did a great job. I love you, Dan. Right? I think we're going to do the Dan, you did a great job. And you did, regardless. And all of these guys, they're all in. They're great guys. They're warriors. For the past 9 years, we've been fighting against the most sinister and corrupt forces on earth. That's right. With your vote in this election, you can show them once and for all that this nation does not belong to them. This nation belongs to you. You. This nation belongs to you. It was hardworking patriots like you who built this country, and tomorrow, 4 years we've all waited for this. 4 years of rallies, good ones and bad ones, but we didn't have any bad ones, I don't think. We had no bad ones. But 4 years, think of it, 4 years, and now it's tomorrow. Tomorrow it's hardworking patriots like you who are going to save our country. All of this was to really, all of these hundreds and hundreds of rallies were to put us in position to do something great for our country. This is, in a way, the harder part. Honestly, beating all these people and fighting all of these people, going through the lies and the vicious statements about you and your family and everything. But all of that was worth it. It puts us in position to now be able to do the job. And we're going to do a great job for everybody, for 100% of the people. We're going to do it for Democrats, for liberals or progressives if they prefer, which they do prefer. But we're going to do it for independents, and we're going to do it for everybody. We're going to do it for everybody. And you're going to be so proud of your vote. I really want you to look back and your family to look back. My dad, my mom voted for Trump. It was the best thing that they ever did. That's what we want. Otherwise, we've made a mistake. And we felt the love. We would have never done this if we didn't do so well the second time. We did better the second time than we did the first time, if you think. After all we've been through together, we stand on the verge of the 4 greatest years in American history. We're really something. With your help, we will restore America's promise, and we will take back the nation that we all love so much. We're one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. We will never give in, we will never give up, we will never back down, and we will never, ever surrender. Together we will fight, 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 and win, win, win. November 5th will be the most important day in the history of our country. We're going to turn it around. We're going to turn it around very fast. You're going to be very proud. And together we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America healthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Pennsylvania. We'll be back. God bless you all. God bless you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much.
Folks, that's President Trump broadcasting from a great place. Okay? One of his rallies today, this time in Pennsylvania. President Trump was earlier broadcasting from back in Raleigh, North Carolina. Now he's been in Pennsylvania, Reading, Pennsylvania. Later he will be back in Michigan, and I believe also in Wisconsin. He has 2 more rallies tonight. I'm going to be on the air to talk to you about what is going on. I'm going to be back on the air to tell you what has happened. We're going to be talking about earthquakes. We're going to be talking about a little bit of everything. Now, I have a deal with RSBN Broadcasting. As long as I have their logo up, I can broadcast their program. I can simulcast it on our network. And that's exactly what I aim to do, especially tomorrow night. Tomorrow night we're going to be broadcasting live from our studios here in Morganton, North Carolina. However, we're also going to be talking with pundits from literally around the United States. I'm looking forward to this. This will be the first time I will have a chance to talk with some of my peers politically around the nation. I was talking to the Republican Committee Chairman here in Burke County just about 3 hours ago. I may have her on the air tomorrow night as well. Again, President Trump was in Raleigh, North Carolina, and basically gave the same speech. It's a little bit different from wherever he is, no matter where he's at. But it's a great time listening to him. President Trump is going to win this election. I can guarantee it. President Trump is going to win this election. And I believe President Trump is going to win this election hands down. Now, I want to show you some things, the reason I believe it. And in a few minutes we'll get down to earthquakes. Okay? Again, this is in Reading, Pennsylvania today. And now he's off to Pittsburgh. And then he's going to Grand Rapids, Michigan tonight. So he's not going to be in Wisconsin. He's going over here to again, another rally in Pennsylvania. And then he's going to be back in Grand Rapids, Michigan. This should be awesome. Okay, this should be literally awesome. Now, do I believe he has a chance to win? I absolutely do. I want to talk to you about what I believe is going to happen. Okay? At 6 p.m. in approximately 1 hour and 15 minutes, we're going to say a prayer for President Trump. We're going to say a prayer for this country. Why am I doing this? Why am I going all out for this? Because I believe that the United States of America cannot possibly continue to exist as we presently have it. Okay? I don't believe the United States will survive. Okay? I just don't believe the United States can survive the way things are going right now. Now, I think what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take this down for the time being. Okay, we will be going back to the rally a little bit later in Pennsylvania. I want to give everybody an idea what these rallies are about. I think I told you all a lot of years ago when I was in San Diego. I was a campaign manager for Ron Packard, who was a congressman in North San Diego County. I was kind of tricked because I was told by Ron Packard at about 7 o'clock one morning, and it was on the morning of November 3rd or November 2nd, whatever day it was Tuesday, election day back then. But I was asked to come to our congressional campaign headquarters in Carlsbad, California, to pick up a ticket to attend the presidential rally in Mission Valley in San Diego about 4 or 5 o'clock that evening. And so I did. I picked up my ticket. As I got to the venue, which was a great big huge parking lot in Mission Valley, which is a great big huge outdoor shopping mall, President Reagan held his rally there that night. Now, 4 years earlier, when he was first elected to the office of President of the United States, President Reagan voted in Los Angeles, where he had his home. He flew down to San Diego for his first his last presidential rally in California before he headed to Washington, D.C. When he was reelected, the evening of his reelection, he held his last rally there in San Diego again in Mission Valley. And when I got there to the rally location, I had a great big huge magnetometer that I had to walk through. The magnetometer is probably 20 feet above the top of it was probably 20 feet above my head and extended out for about 15 feet. I had to walk through there. Then the Secret Service wanted me. They had a great big huge wand that was black in color and had yellow writing on it. They wanted me to make sure I didn't have any weapons. I was a police officer, but I left my weapon home that day. So they wanted me. I walked through the magnetometer. They found I didn't have anything on me, including any handcuffs. So I was led to the podium where the president was going to speak later. Now, the Secret Service agent grabbed me by the upper arm, and he said, "Come with me." So he led me to the podium area. I sat down in my chair that had my name on it. Later, Congressman Packard joined me there. Pete Wilson, who was the governor of California at the time, also joined me. And other congressional candidates and their families and their congressional staffs and senatorial staffs also joined them on the podium. So I was in good company. Most of these congressmen and senators I knew from working with them on the campaigns. Later, when President Reagan arrived, there was the seating area was through the entire parking lot. So President Reagan pulled his limousine, or the Secret Service pulled his limousines, his whole entourage, right next to where the audience was seated. President Reagan got out and waved at the crowd. You remember how President Reagan waved at the crowds? Well, President Reagan waved at the crowds. Then he started walking down the sides of the automobiles and walked over to the venue entrance and walked right up the steps to the platform that all of us were sitting on. He made a beeline for me. Then he put his great big left hand on my shoulder, looked me right in the eye, grabbed my hand and shook my hand and said, "Well, Ron, it's good to see you. I've heard so much about you." That was my introduction to Ronald Reagan. I know the congressman set me up for that opportunity. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. And later Reagan did speak to the crowd. It was a lot of fun. So I've been to many rallies throughout my life where presidents of the United States have spoken. So that's one of the reasons I want to do that for you. If you haven't already seen the rallies firsthand on the internet or the evening news is not going to show you everything. But RSBN will. And that's one of the reasons I want to show you these rallies. I want you to give you a good first-hand view of what's going on, so you can kind of get a flavor of what it's like to meet with the presidents and the other dignitaries. So it should be a lot of fun tonight. Tomorrow night is an entirely different thing. Tomorrow night we're going to be talking about the election results. Okay? We're going to be coming on the air at 6 p.m. normally. Yes, if anything big is happening with earthquakes or anything else, we'll talk about that first. Then we will go directly to the RSBN feed, and we're going to be talking about the election results. Now, I want to show you this map. So please forgive me for taking the time to show this to you. I think it's absolutely important. Okay? In order for the President of the United States to win, whether it be Kamala Harris or President Trump, he needs at least 270 electoral votes to win. Right now, this is a map as we see it today. Okay? The blue states are Kamala Harris states, except for Virginia and New Jersey and Maryland up to the north on the right-hand side. From all the information that I can see right now, Maryland will have turned red for the first time in years, because the people of Maryland don't agree with what Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have been doing. So Maryland will be turning red and voting for President Trump here. Okay? New York may or may not vote for President Trump. There's 29 electoral votes there. Vermont will probably stay with Joe Biden. Okay? Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. New Hampshire could turn to President Trump. New Hampshire has 4 electoral votes, the same as Maryland. Okay? Then we drop down to New Jersey. You can see the electoral votes from New Jersey over at the center right-hand side. NJ. There are 14 electoral votes for New Jersey. Right now, it is said that New Jersey will be voting for Trump. If this is the case, Pennsylvania and New Jersey and North Carolina will seal the ballot for President Trump. Right now, if you look at my state in North Carolina, there are 15 electoral votes here. North Carolina has already turned red. Now, Virginia they have in blue. I spoke to the Governor Youngkin, this morning. Governor Youngkin believes that Virginia has turned red. That remains to be seen tomorrow. Okay? Look at all the other red areas here. Not just the pink ones that may turn red. Okay? Let's go up here to Michigan, MI. There are 16 electoral votes up there. Right now, Wisconsin has 10 electoral votes. Up until 2 days ago, Wisconsin and Michigan possibly may have turned blue and stayed blue. Not even turned blue, but stayed blue. Now there is a good chance that President Trump will win both of those states. Also look where Governor Walz comes from, the state of Minnesota. Right now it looks like Minnesota will go to President Trump with 10 electoral votes. If that's the case, Walz will be totally blown away. Walz is Kamala Harris's running mate. And if Minnesota goes to President Trump, Walz will be totally blown away. Illinois, south of there, is a blue state. Illinois will probably stay blue since Governor Pritzker from Illinois is a Democrat himself, and the Democrat policies are strong in Illinois. Very strong. Colorado. There is a chance that Colorado could turn red. There is a chance that Colorado could turn red. There are a lot of people in Colorado that hate Biden and hate Kamala Harris. Earlier this year, the state legislature had put forth a legislative act that was challenged in Colorado with the Colorado State Supreme Court that said President Trump could not have or could not be on the ballot in Colorado. Residents complained. The complaint went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. The U.S. Supreme Court said that President Trump had a right to be on that ballot and every ballot throughout the United States. So the Democrats could no longer try to keep President Trump off the ballot. Illinois tried the same thing. Again, the U.S. Supreme Court said, no, you can't do that. New Mexico also has a Democrat governor. New Mexico has been Democrat for a very long time. And New Mexico may stay blue as well. But there is a chance, however small chance, that New Mexico could also turn red tomorrow. Over in Arizona that you see in pink here, kind of a pinkish red. Arizona has already turned red. The state legislators and the citizens have had the greatest turnout of pre-election votes. Pre-election day votes. The greatest turnout ever. And the people of Arizona have already spoken. It looks to and appears that Arizona has already turned to red. Nevada. They have Nevada as a light blue here. Right now I have it on good authority. I've not talked to anybody actually in Nevada itself, but I have it on good authority that Nevada has already turned red as well. Arnold Smith says we're buffering. That's sad. Now he says 5 by 5 now. Okay, if you are getting buffered here with our program, leave the program and come right back. Don't leave completely, but come right back. Because I don't want you to miss anything we have to say or what we're going to show you tonight. This is going to be a night to remember, I promise you. Okay? Wendy B47 says, hello, Team Ron. Yes, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Yeah, you can call me Team Ron. That sounds like fun. Anyway, Nevada may have already turned red as well. California, Oregon, and Washington are a different story. Oregon and Washington have always been blue for the last who knows how many years. They will remain blue, even though the eastern parts of Oregon no longer want to be part of Oregon. If the eastern part of Oregon secedes from Oregon and becomes part of Idaho, Idaho will have the strongest secession of power ever. Idaho already has 4 electoral votes. If the eastern part of Oregon secedes over to Idaho, Idaho will be a place to be contending with. Okay? But California, it shows pretty good size, or pretty good color blue here. I believe California, Oregon, and Washington will remain in control of the Democrat Party. As will New York, Vermont, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Delaware, and Washington, D.C. Now, that could change, okay? But regardless, with the states that I've already told you about, and my own home state of North Carolina already turning red, having turned red, it looks like that President Trump will be the President of the United States with 315 electoral votes. It takes 270 electoral votes to win the presidency. And Kamala doesn't even come close to that. On this map alone, it only shows her with 223. And that may also be changing tomorrow. Now, let's go and talk about something else that really needs to be talked about. What am I talking about here? I have some evidence to talk to you about. Again, I'm going to ask everybody to vote. I'm asking everybody to vote. Election day is tomorrow. Those of you who did not already vote early, go and vote tomorrow. Your vote counts. Also, put your arm around your neighbors and your friends and other family members that haven't voted, and take them to the polls with you. Take them to the polls with you. There is a very good chance, a very, very good chance, that President Trump will take the election. However, those of you who remember the name Nancy Pelosi, the former Majority Leader of the Senate, Nancy Pelosi said today she's lined up a whole cadre of lawyers ready to take President Trump to task in the courts to keep him out of the Oval Office. The Democrat Party does not want Donald Trump in the White House. They've already tried to assassinate him twice. Twice they sent assassins after him. One was taken out by a bullet from the Secret Service. Another one was arrested after he fled from the Secret Service and law enforcement after he was going to shoot at the president on the golf course in Palm Beach, Florida. That man remains in jail in Florida. And there's a darn good chance he will stay there and never be able to see the daylight outside of the prison. Now, Nancy Pelosi and the Democrat Party will do whatever it takes to make sure President Trump does not take office. They're going to go all the way back to January 6, 2020. They're going to try to saddle President Trump with what they already tried to, trying to convict him of crimes when he told the people that came to the Capitol that day that protested. And Nancy Pelosi believes that those people that were protesting on January 6th that year, the President Trump told them to be wild and reckless and to attack the Capitol. That is not the truth. The plain truth is that President Trump told them to go home. President Trump told them to obey the law. President Trump had no idea what was going to happen. President Trump was also not there. He was not on the ellipse. He was not at the Capitol building that day. But Nancy Pelosi wants to hold him responsible for what happened. But the problem is with that, President Trump knew that the people were coming to the Capitol, and there may be demonstrations. President Trump wanted a bunch of National Guard troops around the ellipse and the Capitol building to keep the peace. The Capitol Hill Police Department, the police chief, went to the Senate, or the House, the Congressional House, Sergeant at Arms, and asked for National Guard troops to help him. Because he said his troops, his cadre, his police officers that he had on duty were getting their butts handed to him. The Sergeant at Arms in Congress had to go to Nancy Pelosi to get permission for those National Guard troops. The problem was, Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, had to give permission for the National Guard troops to be there. Nancy Pelosi said it doesn't give a good photo op. It doesn't give a good photo op. In other words, it doesn't look good for armed soldiers to be around the Capitol building. So Nancy Pelosi said no to the National Guard troops. Yes, there were problems on the ellipse and at the Capitol building. Nancy Pelosi would have everyone believe that 2 police officers were killed at the Capitol building. That was a lie. No police officers were harmed at the Capitol building. There was 1 police officer that died about a week and a half or 2 weeks later after the fact from a heart attack that had nothing to do with the riot or the so-called riot at the Capitol. It didn't happen. There was actually no riot there. Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats have video that's been altered, showing police officers on the ground, again getting their butts handed to them. Those are made-up videos. Those videos are fictitious. Tucker Carlson, 2 years ago, got his hands on the video from video cameras all over the outside of the Capitol building and inside the Capitol building itself. None of those videos showed anything wrong going on. It didn't show a riot going on at all. Yes, it did show a lot of people on the ellipse and at the Capitol building, but there was no riot at all. The video inside the Capitol building showed the people that came into the Capitol itself being shown around the Capitol by the Capitol Hill Police Department. Members of the Capitol Hill Police Department showing the people around the Capitol. Nothing bad happened. Not at all. But Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats, the Democrat Communist Party, and yes, I'm calling the kettle black. Nancy Pelosi herself is responsible for whatever happened that day at the Capitol building. President Trump wanted 16,000 troops from the National Guard to be there. Nancy Pelosi said no. Nancy Pelosi said no. Now, the Pentagon people, the generals, the colonels, and lieutenant colonels at the Pentagon had stationed National Guard troops just outside the Capitol. on the roads surrounding the Capitol. Those National Guard troops did not get any closer than that. But the National Guard troops stood by in case something did happen, in which case the military would have gone in and solved the problem, preventing any more intrusions or anybody from getting hurt. Nothing happened. Nancy Pelosi herself is a communist. Kamala Harris is a Marxist, just like her father, a totalitarian Marxist that want to turn this country over to communism. Barack Obama is a puppeteer. Barack Obama is a puppeteer controlling the puppets. Waltz, Pelosi, and Kamala Harris. Barack Obama needs to be arrested himself. Someone else is also in charge over there. Who else do you think might have been giving them money? Who else do you think has been supplying the communist politicians money to do what they want to do? Can anybody tell me who that person might be? Can anybody tell me who that person might be? Glenn Beck's talked about him. Specifically about that man. Yes, he's a communist. Yes, he has lived here in the United States, but now he's outside the United States because he feels like his life isn't worth a plug nickel if he stepped back on United States soil. And you're right. His life wouldn't be worth a plug nickel. Wendy B says Soros. Soros. You're absolutely right, Wendy B. Berlinda is saying Clinton. The Clintons are equally to blame, even though the Clintons were not anywhere near the office. In 2016, Trump beat Clinton hands down. Trump beat Mrs. Clinton hands down. Mrs. Clinton thought she won, but she did not. She fell short from the votes necessary to put her into office. And again, the same thing that's happening now happened back then. The Democrats fought long and hard. The Democrats wanted to put up a great big huge fury of a fight. But Mrs. Clinton lost. She lost handily. One of the other reasons that Mrs. Clinton lost was she is somewhat like Biden. Her memory isn't what it used to be. Mrs. Clinton is delirious. Mrs. Clinton is like Biden is. She can't even put two sentences together without getting mixed up. And yet Mrs. Clinton is on drugs to try to keep her lucid. So when she's in front of the camera, she looks like she's got it all together. But back in 2016, she could hardly walk. She went out to her limousine to get in it when she was out on the campaign trail, and her Secret Service agents had to catch her because she fell off the curb and she could not get up. They had to help Mrs. Clinton into the limousine. Mrs. Clinton is worthless, as is her husband. Now, Demon Catman is the first losing candidate not to speak after. Too drunk by accounts. Dean, you're absolutely right. Too drunk by accounts. That's a problem also with Kamala. She gets drunk. There have been many times when she's got in front of the camera and she could not speak 2 sentences clearly. Her speech was slurred. Her eyes, her pupils were huge. And she moved around like this, very in a drunken stupor like this. Okay? Kamala's bad. Kamala is bad. Diane Kilman is here in the chat saying, we are not commies. We are American patriots. And that's exactly right, we are. We are American patriots. Wendy B47 says, cackling Kamala, yes. She thinks everything's funny. Kamala thinks everything's funny because she doesn't know what to say. She doesn't know what to say. Kamala appeared on The View about a week and a half ago. She was asked by the communist ladies on The View, is there anything really important that you need to say, or something important that you would do differently than Joe Biden? Kamala said, not that I can think of. During the past 2 weeks, that same question has been given to Kamala. Not that I can think of. Kamala has no clue what she's doing. Kamala would not do anything different than what Biden has done. Kamala is being controlled by Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. Stupid as it sounds, she's being a puppet. Kanita Warrior says, has yet to answer a question with logic. You're absolutely right. Kamala Harris can't even read a teleprompter. About 3 weeks ago, Kamala Harris was at a rally, attended by a few thousand people. But again, Kamala Harris has never been able to attract more than 20,000 people at all. That was the biggest rally she's ever had. Most rallies that Kamala Harris has been to have been with several hundred people. When Biden was running the last election in 2020, he rarely even came out of his basement. He held a rally in a parking lot where only 50 people attended his rally. And the only reason he got 50 people to attend that rally is they were bussed in. That is the other interesting situation with Kamala. Anytime she's had a big rally, she's had people bussed in. One rally she attended last week, now a week and a half ago. She promised her people that if they attended the rally, that she would have Beyonce sing to them. That Beyonce would hold a concert for her rally goers. Beyonce did not hold a concert for anybody. Beyonce said that she supported Kamala and walked off stage. That's all that Beyonce did. One other rally, I don't remember who it was before that, the same kind of thing happened. Kamala told her rally goers that there was going to be a concert. And yet, the person that was supposed to be singing at that concert never showed up. Unreal. This woman wants to be president of the United States, but she cannot even get people to attend her rallies unless she promises them something. And even then, She cannot live up to her promises. Nobody wants to do anything for her, including Beyonce, other than saying that she supported Kamala Harris's candidacy. That's all. That's all. Kamala runs away from interviews. Kamala Harris runs away from interviews. President Trump takes interviews and stays there until all the questions have been answered. That's what Trump does. That's what Trump does. Kamala, she sat down with MSNBC 3 days after she took 3 days off. She said she had to take 3 days off to get some rest to prepare for the interview with MSNBC. When she got to the MSNBC interview, she could hardly speak straight. She seemed confused. The interviewer at MSNBC was fielding her very shallow questions. Questions that she didn't have to think much about. And yet, Kamal could not even answer those questions. And she danced around the question, and she kept talking round and round and round again. She never even answered any one of those questions. Kamala does not do well at interviews, and Kamala does not do well at taking questions from the media. And in fact, she walks away from them. When we had the hurricane come up from Florida, if you remember a few weeks ago, back in October, 2 hurricanes came through Florida. First, Helene. Helene was supposed to come up through Florida and then peter out and go off to the west. Peter out and go off to the west. Guess what? It didn't do that. It strengthened. And it went straight north through Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina, and up into Virginia, where it died out. And then it turned east and went out over the Atlantic Ocean. Interesting enough, I believe that hurricane, and this is going off topic just a little bit, but I believe that hurricane was influenced by elite people. That hurricane was weather controlled, weather manipulated. Now, Kamala Harris came up to Georgia, where a U.S. Air Force National Guard plane was being filled to capacity to take supplies supposedly to North Carolina. Kamala Harris showed up, had a photo op, and got back into her plane, where another photo was taken where she supposedly was writing on paper. And if you remember, those of you that were here with me, I showed you a picture of her writing at her desk on the plane. The papers she was writing on had no writing on them at all. It was a photo op. The whole thing was a photo op. She had a headset attached supposedly to her phone. Her phone was laying on her desk. And yet, the headset that she was wearing on her ears was not connected to the phone either. The entire photograph was a photo op. The plane that had been loaded with supplies that was supposed to be headed to North Carolina was subsequently unloaded. It never did make it to North Carolina. On the same token, President Trump showed up. The former president showed up. He showed up and gave the people in Georgia, South and North Carolina $25 million. $25 million. He surveyed the damage in Georgia, South Carolina, and then North Carolina. He gave North Carolina even more money and promised their economies and their cities would be recovered and would be built better than ever. That their cities and economies would be recovered and built back better than ever. Joe Biden didn't do much of anything. He flew over the whole area. Nobody even knows what he might have seen or said while he was in the air flying over the disaster area, and then he left. He did not do anything for the citizens of Georgia. Well, actually, let's go back. Nothing for Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. Didn't do anything for them. Kamala said that the people would be helped by FEMA. Yes, FEMA showed up, but they left. FEMA showed up and left. FEMA was supposed to give $750 to each individual that was harmed by the hurricane. Some people received those $750. Others that were promised the money filled out the applications to receive the money, but never got anything. Because supposedly FEMA ran out of money. Because the money that was supposed to be directed to FEMA had been redirected to the illegal aliens that had come into this country. Yes, the money that FEMA had been redirected to the illegal aliens that came into this country. So I made a couple of phone calls. I made a phone call to Congressman Mike Johnson, who is now the Speaker of the House. He got back to me after he looked at many other projects that were on his desk. And he said that another $30 billion, was being allocated to the people in North Carolina through FEMA, so the people in North Carolina could recover their lives. Yes, North Carolina has seen some of that money. And everybody knows that that $30 billion won't go very far. There's a ton of damage. There's no possibility that $30 billion could cover recovering those families and their homes and their businesses. It's going to take a lot more money. However, Congressman Johnson promised that after the November election tomorrow, that he and his congressman would meet in full session to allocate more money to the victims of Milton, Hurricane Helene, in Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina, and Virginia. That they would make sure they would allocate more money for the people. It's unreal. The person running for president, Miss Kamala Harris, has said, "Oh, I've been there. I've helped those people." No, she didn't. Kamala Harris lies and continues to lie. Kamala Harris hasn't done squat for anybody. She can't tell the truth. She can't do what she said she's going to do. And then she runs away when there's questions being asked. Incredible. James Barek is here in the chat. Back in I believe it was 1976, Jimmy Carter gave us FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Association. Why? He gave us FEMA so there was an organization within the federal government that was a secretary position to the President of the United States, to be able to help people affected by disasters through the Safford Act. The Safford Act. Now, most people don't even know what the Safford Act is. If you want to talk about the Safford Act, we'll do that another time. But what has happened? The United States government has taken money out of FEMA to give to all these illegal aliens that the Obama, the Biden, and the Harris administration has brought into the United States. Those numbers were, at the beginning of this year, were close to 20 million illegals that had come into this country. Not just from South America, Brazil, Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, El Salvador, and other places. Illegal aliens from around the world, from over 140 countries, have made their way into the United States. Half of those illegals have come into the country without even us knowing who they were. In other words, they came through holes in the fence, or through areas on the south border of the United States that did not have any fence. When President Trump was president before, he started building a border fence and promised to make it the most stringent, secure border ever in the world. Yet when the Democrat communists took over during the Biden administration, Biden and Harris opened the border to anybody that wanted to come through. And in fact, Biden started destroying that fence. And where he couldn't destroy the fence, he sent welders over to the fence and cut holes in the fence, welding what was now a gate open, so it could not be part of the fence again. Welded a gate open so anybody could come through the gate. There were gotaways that came through the fence and through other areas of the border. Gotaways. Earlier this year, it was said that 20 million people had come through the border, the south border of the U.S. Now that number is over 25 million. 25 million people have come through the southern border. Ms. Kamala Harris has said that that border is secure. Biden has also uttered those words, the most secure border ever. Lying again to the people. Absolutely lying to the people. It's incredible what these people have gotten away with. NCWQ just gave us $1 super chat. I just gave you an EMA sticker here. I'm giving you right now a thumbs up for that super chat. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. You're awesome, Becky. NCWQ Worldwide News and Disaster Explorer, you are awesome. We appreciate you helping us here on this program. Anyone else that would like to help us out, we'd appreciate it very much. We'd appreciate it very much. All of your money is going to helping keep this program on the air. My wife and I are very careful with the funds we get here, that they're not abused. Those funds are helping keep this program on the air. When I first started on this program, I've told this story to you many times. I had no idea that would cost money to do a program like we continue to do here. It does cost money. Right now I'm paying $240 a month for 1 gigabyte of broadband space. 1 gigabyte of broadband space cost me $240. Incredible. When I first started doing this broadcast back in Utah, I didn't have any knowledge of that kind of thing going on. And sometimes I got buffered out of my mind. But as it turns out, you have to have broadband space to do this program. And so over the years, I bought more and more broadband space to be able to do this program. I also had to buy a couple of computers to do this program with. As it turns out, I had to have a gaming computer. And that gaming computer cost me some money. Prior to that, I had a pretty good computer that I got away with it. But now I have a good computer to keep us on the air here. James Brecken says equipment and internet is expensive. Right. And I had no idea it was. But now I'm doing that. I'm doing that. Becky's also saying YouTube keeps messing with my channel. It keeps messing with viewers. A few months ago, I had upwards of 3,000 to 5,000 people every night watching this program. And now, the best that I can get is maybe 300 to 500 people live during my program. 300 to 500 people live during my program. YouTube is suppressing our program. Before, 5 years ago when I had this program out first on the air, I've been on there 5.5 years. 5 years ago, I was not heavily suppressed at all. I gained viewers very fast. People join my program from all over the world. Right now, just to give you an idea, it says I have 49 consecutive viewers. 49. Go figure. Normal nights like tonight, I usually have 300 to 400. Now I have only 49 viewers. Yes, it's not even 6 p.m. yet. It's not even 6 p.m. But several months ago, I had 4,000 to 5,000 people viewing our program at any point in time during the program. And now YouTube is only letting 300 to 400 people see this program while we are live on the air. And in a 24-hour time period after the program's on the air, YouTube allows another 200 people to see this program. So I might see anywhere from a total of 500 to 600 people total that can see any one program. Incredible. Completely incredible. Arnold Smith says a video capture card is over $500. You're right. And yes, I have a very nice video capture card here. Okay, like I said, this computer is a gaming computer. I made sure at least that I could stay on the air for a good year or two. And I'm here. And I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. Right now it says I have 47 people watching this program. Incredible. Incredible. This venue that they call YouTube is owned by a bunch of communists in San Francisco, California. It's owned by a bunch of communist Democrats in Northern California. The Biden administration 4 years ago started cracking down on those of us on YouTube. They started telling us that they would not allow us to be on the air. So the FBI goes over to the social media giants, went over to YouTube, went over to Facebook and said, oh, you can't let those Republicans or those conservatives say what they want to say. So Facebook started having fact checkers up, started employing fact checkers, people who would challenge anything that some of us put up. During a 2-month period, my Facebook channel, my Facebook page was taken offline many times. And it went down for up to a month because of things that I posted about COVID and other things. Guess what? The fact checkers at the time said that the things I was saying were wrong, false. And yet now it's coming out that everything I and many other people said was true. And yet the FBI had come to Facebook and YouTube to tell them to suppress our talk. And if we got out of line, to take us down. I've been online again here on YouTube for 5.5 years. My first channel was completely taken down by YouTube. And a few days later, I came back up with this channel. And they've not done anything with this channel, taking me off the air yet. Yet. But they have buffered me. They have suppressed this channel getting any subscribers. They have suppressed this channel from getting views and playing games with my channel. Folks, I'm going to stay here for as long as I can. Yes, I do have a Rumble channel. And Rumble doesn't mess with people. But for most people, it's hard to navigate. And so there's not a lot of people that go over to Rumble. But at some point in time, I might do that. Because like I said, I do have a channel there. And yes, I have used it. But I have a lot more people here on YouTube, and I'd rather keep in touch with all of you than go over to a new venue. Okay? I don't want to start all over again. Okay? Now, NCWQ is talking to Diane here on the chat. Diane, it's so YouTube makes all the money with their ads, and Ron makes zero. He has a non-monetized channel. All of the money that you guys give me, YouTube takes anywhere from 40 to 45% of it. The most I've ever gotten is 65% of the money that you guys give me. Most of it YouTube keeps. Most of it YouTube keeps. And I get the remainder. That's why I say how much I appreciate all of you for your support. I appreciate your support. Now, many of you go over to our PayPal. Below this video here tonight, we have our email address, and our email address and our post office box are right in front of you at the bottom of your screen. rltnspdema@gmail.com and 104 North Green Street, Box 105, Morganton, North Carolina. Zip code is 28655. Below that, we have 2 PayPal addresses and 1 Venmo address. I'd actually like to just keep those PayPal addresses available to you to help support this channel. I greatly appreciate all that you guys do to help us here. Diane Kellen says, what about if we send you a check? Yes, you can do that. You can do that. Many people do that all the time. This person here sent me a card. I showed you this the card the other day. And inside that card was money. People send checks. They send money orders, postal money orders. They send cash, paper money. They put the paper money inside a card or in a letter to Carol and I, and wrap that money up in that letter and send us to our post office box. We greatly appreciate that. We would greatly appreciate that, guys. Now, Diane Kevin says, yes, I've sent Ronnie money. I can't do it all the time. And I appreciate that. I greatly appreciate that. Now, today, well, yesterday actually, or Saturday, actually, when I went to the post office said, put a note in my box saying I had a package. So today I went to the post office again and retrieved my package. Those of you that have seen someone named S. Nort on the chat, S. Nort sent us a package like this. A package just like this. I don't want you to see I don't want to put out her address. Number one, I don't think it's anybody's business what her address is. So I'm not going to show you that. But she sent us a package. Okay? Small package, but a package nonetheless. She also sent us a small note here in this plastic wrap here, along with the note right here, right there. In that note was some paper money that's now in my wallet. I'm going to put it in the bank tomorrow. Not just that. There was a cool card as well. A picture of deer. I appreciate that a lot. Dear Ron and Carol, greetings from Indiana. Not much is going on here, but that's okay. I'm not sure I like being a 65-year-old had to have a root canal, which is no picnic, because the tooth was capped. I had to get that fixed. The cost is outlandish. Never fails. There's no saving money. I just stay home. I bought a new car a little over a year ago. I don't even have 7,000 miles on it. I guess it is my little old lady car. Seems every time I leave the house, I spend money. So I stay home. I will go vote though. I go to a few places and I try to stay away from Walmart. They're building a Dollar General in Mulberry. I probably cut my grocery store stops in half. I hope you all are comfortable and secure where you live. It sounds like these geographical events are going to ramp up. My daughter ended up evacuating her St. Petersburg, Florida apartment in Florida after the hurricane hit there, and it set her back. She's just barely finished her therapy. I wish she'd moved back home, but she's 32 years old and she's on her own. Hope you are great. Best wishes, S. Nort. She sent us a PayPal donation a few weeks ago. So S. Nord, if you are watching this program, which I hope you are, yes, I did get your PayPal donation a few weeks ago. And Carol and I appreciate your card and your donations to us here. Now there's some other things we have here. Right here. This is a Lionel Railroad keychain. A Lionel Road keychain. It has a battery in it. And there's a small train that goes around this track here. You might see this train inside the cover here. Yes, I have to do a little bit of repair in order to make it work, but I'm going to do that too. She also sent a wooden locomotive, an old style wood locomotive that I greatly appreciate. Yes, folks, I love my rock collection, and I love my collection of trains. I love my collection of trains and train memorabilia. Now for Carol and I. She sent me this pen. She sent me this pen. It looks like a shotgun, doesn't it? Well, guess what? It's not a shotgun. It's a pen. Yes, it looks like a shotgun, but it's a pen. You unscrew it, and there's a pen there. It's kind of nifty. Yes, I love that as well. Like I said, she sent some things to Carol as well. This is a Christmas ornament. This is a Christmas ornament that Carol and I are going to enjoy in the next 30 days when we get a tree and put it up. Now, most of you know that we have 2 Chihuahuas here. Most of you know that I have Carol and I have 2 Chihuahuas here. Here's a Chihuahua. And that Chihuahua is on a chain here. We can put this ornament on our Christmas tree. That's pretty cool. So S. Nord, thank you for sharing things with us, making our life happier. We really appreciate it. And like I said, she sent us another donation inside that card. We appreciate that ever so much. And she keeps sending me little train things. I love it. But that's just some of the things we have here. So yes, you guys can send us donations to our P.O. box, to our post office box. You can send us donations to our PayPal. Right directly beneath this video here, tonight, you have our PayPal addresses. They're there for you to be able to help support this program. Okay? Dawn, thank you for putting her name up here in the chat. She's a great lady, guys. She really is. She's a great lady. We appreciate her so much. Do you guys have any questions for me? I know I haven't gone to the earthquakes, but I'm going to right now. Okay? Let's bring up the USGS map here. Yes, I don't like this map. I don't like it at all. I don't like USGS. I can't stand them. I really can't. I cannot stand the U.S. Geological Survey because they lie to us. Just like all the rest of the government lies to us. Heaven forbid we get any clear, concise information. Heaven forbid we get any clear, concise information. When something else happens that's going to be disastrous, that's going to leave many people either dead or leave people incapacitated because the USGS continues to lie. If the USGS had any brains, they would clearly and most certainly want people to know what's going on. They'd want people to know what's going on so they can prepare. But heaven forbid that happens. This earthquake I highlighted here on the Pneumatic Fault. This is on the eastern side of the Pneumatic Fault. This is Ridgely, Tennessee. This is a 1.8 tremor in Ridgely, Tennessee. This is all fine and good, but guess what? It's not the only seismic event that happened here in Ridgely, Tennessee. Ridgely, Tennessee has had earthquakes here today. Ridgely, Tennessee has had numerous tremors here as well. But this is just what USGS wants us to know. Because heaven forbid they tell us the truth. As I said last week when I showed you seismograms here on the Pneumatic Fault, folks, there are hundreds and hundreds of earthquakes that happen here on the Pneumatic Fault every day. Every day. But yet, the USGS never shows it. Rarely do they ever show more than one place where there's some activity. And rarely, if ever, do they ever show anything more than a tremor. Occasionally they showed a 2.4 earthquake, a 2.7 earthquake. Those are minor quakes. But I've shown you 3.0s, I've shown you 3.5s. Those are small quakes. 3.0, 3.9 are small quakes. But I've also shown you 4.0s to 4.9 earthquakes. Moderate earthquakes. When I first started investigating what was going on here on the Pneumatic Fault, all that I was seeing were microquakes. Microquakes and minor tremors. That's all. And yet, the United States Geological Survey is still only showing tremors here. I can guarantee you that there are tremors and minor earthquakes and small earthquakes here at Ridgely, Tennessee today. Guarantee it. Up and down the fault. Up and down the entire fault line. From Illinois south to Louisiana. Okay? Now, why am I so adamant in talking about this? Because 5 years ago when I first started looking into this, all there were tremors and microquakes. Nothing to speak about. Nothing to get too excited about. But now, 5 years later, we are seeing good-sized earthquakes. Good-sized earthquakes. More than just minor earthquakes and tremors. Now we are seeing small and moderate earthquakes here on the Pneumatic Fault. We have yet to have a large 5.0 to 5.9 earthquake here on the Pneumatic Fault. Yes, it's going to happen. It most definitely will happen. But right now it's not. I believe sometime in the next 2 years, given the activity sequences that we're having now, within the next 2 years, we're going to see a major earthquake happen here on the Pneumatic Fault. And I'm talking over a 7.0 to an 8.0 earthquake. A 7.0 to an 8.0 major earthquake. Promise. I promise it's going to happen. Now, let's pull back over here to southwestern Texas. We are seeing minor earthquakes and minor tremors here in southwestern Texas. Right here, Snyder, Texas again. A few months ago we had a 5.0 earthquake here in Snyder, Texas. This is a 1.5 tremor here in Snyder, Texas today. It's basically an aftershock of a large earthquake that happened here several months ago. But it's not the only thing that's happened. Let's go further southwest here. This is Ackerley, Texas. About 5 or 6 weeks ago, we had a 5.1 earthquake here in Ackerley, Texas. This is a 1.7 tremor here near Ackerley, Texas. An aftershock of a large earthquake. Southeast of here is Garden City, Texas. This is a 1.5 tremor also due to the very same earthquake. An aftershock of a 5.1 earthquake in Ackerley, Texas a few weeks back. Okay? Over here, Real West, Texas. This is western Texas right next to the New Mexico border. Literally. This is a 2.0 minor earthquake. This is a 1.6 tremor here. This is a 2.7 minor earthquake here. And right here, this is 1.8 tremor. Southwestern Texas. Toya, Texas, Coyanosa, Texas, in this region. These are fracturing quakes. Fracturing quakes. Oil and gas pumping operations here, and when Seismic Energy finds those oil and gas pumping operations, the Seismic Energy finds these oil and gas holes here in the ground, which are man-made earthquake faults, and it causes those man-made earthquake faults to fracture. Rock fracturing, causing earth movement. Rock fracturing causing earth movement. Okay? That's why we're seeing earthquakes over here in southwestern Texas, all over Texas. Now, we are not showing any earthquakes today over here in Oklahoma. But guess what? There have been earthquakes here in Oklahoma. Oklahoma has 586,000 pumps and jacks. Oklahoma has 586,000 pumps and jacks. I have no clue how many pumps and jacks are in Texas. But I will tell you this. There are probably triple that. There are probably triple the pumps and jacks from what Oklahoma has to what Texas has. There's a lot of Texas crude oil in the ground there. And yes, there's going to be more oil and gas pumping because the Biden administration stopped it. The Biden administration stopped it. Now, way down here in the southern mid-Atlantic, yesterday there was a 5.1 earthquake way down here in the south mid-Atlantic. You can see the earthquake fault down here. This is the Antarctic Ridge. Yesterday there was a 5.1 earthquake down here on the southern Antarctic Ridge. Now, let me enlarge this map again. Further north, that energy has gone further north at a rapid rate. USGS now says that there's a 4.9 earthquake. A 4.9 earthquake up here on the Reykjanes Ridge. The Reykjanes Ridge. The Reykjanes Ridge is the Mid-Atlantic Fault. The Reykjanes Ridge is a Mid-Atlantic Fault. USGS is calling this a 4.9, but guess what? It's a much larger earthquake. USGS downgraded it to the nearest 0.9. This is what USGS does when they don't want us to know the true energy from this quake. They downgrade it to a 4.9 or the nearest 0.9. That's what they've done here. I believe this was a 5.3 large earthquake. A 5.3 large earthquake. This happened at 2:57 a.m. Eastern Time last night. Okay? Now, down here in South America, Central America, we have earthquakes. This earthquake right here is just south of Guatemala. Just 2 miles, 4 kilometers west-southwest of Ixtapa, Guatemala. A 4.4 moderate earthquake that they want to say is a light earthquake. It's not. Right here, this is the 4.2 here. This is south of Acuta, El Salvador. The 4.2 earthquake here. One other earthquake here. This is a 4.2 also near Toluca, Nicaragua. There are more earthquakes here than that. Earthquakes over in Costa Rica and Panama. There are earthquakes over in southern Mexico that they're not telling us about. 3.5 to 4.7 earthquakes in southern Mexico. Heaven forbid they tell us about them. USGS is showing us one earthquake up here. Southern Peru. This is a 4.5 earthquake. This is just southwest of Sabancaya volcano. Southwest of Sabancaya volcano. This is a 4.5 earthquake. 81 kilometers east-northeast of Palca, Peru. It's not east-northeast of Palca, Peru. It's west-southwest of Palca, Peru. If any of you have looked at this USGS map today, USGS does not know its directions. I don't think that USGS can even locate their own butt. I just don't think so. Because they cannot give us adequate directions to where these earthquakes are. This is near Sabancaya volcano. This is located in the tops of the Andes Mountains here. Yet it says it's 81 kilometers east-northeast of Palca, Peru. It's not. It's west-southwest of Palca, Peru. Stupid people. Stupid people. Let's go over here to New Zealand. Now, New Zealand here, they're not showing us all the earthquakes here either. There are 25 earthquakes here in New Zealand today. This earthquake here is over on the northern shore of the South Island of New Zealand. This is a 4.3 earthquake. Now, I want to tell you a little story about this earthquake. This earthquake first came out as a 2.6. This earthquake came out as a 2.6 quake. Within 20 seconds after it came out, USGS upgraded it to a 4.3. This gives you an idea where the USGS brains are. They don't know their head from a hole in the ground. The United States Geological Survey does not know their head from a hole in the ground. Look where this earthquake is. It's right there on the northern coast of the South Island of New Zealand. There are a lot more earthquakes than this here. There are a lot more earthquakes than are here on this island. Over here further south, we have 2 more earthquakes. And we go down here to the south part of the island, down to South Park, New Zealand here. 2 3.2s and a 2.7 earthquake here. There's more earthquakes here in this water area here between the North and the South Island. This is called the Cook Strait. The Cook Strait. 3 earthquakes here today in the Cook Strait. Up here on the North Island here, more earthquakes here. 11 earthquakes over here on the North Island. Most of these are 2.2s to 2.8 earthquakes. But there's more than that. Up here, we often call this the catcher's mitt. The catcher's mitt. Because if you look at the satellite pictures, it does look like a catcher's mitt. There are several earthquakes here, even close in here to White Island. White Island is a volcano right here. And yes, White Island has been erupting, just so you know. Also, those of you that have not been to this channel before, there's a supervolcano here. There is a supervolcano right here. Folks, this island has a supervolcano, much like Yellowstone. Okay? I swear, guys, it's incredible. And USGS rarely shows any earthquakes here. Around to the north of this supervolcano, we have some minor earthquakes. To the west of this supervolcano, we have a couple more minor earthquakes. And to the east of the supervolcano, we have another couple earthquakes here. Minor earthquakes. It's called Topo Lake or Topo Volcano, a supervolcano in New Zealand. We typically have more earthquakes here to the north of New Zealand, right here. It's called the Kermadec Islands. The Kermadec Islands. The Kermadec Islands here are unoccupied islands, except for birds. It's a bird sanctuary. Typically, we have 5.0, 4.9, 4.7 earthquakes here. Sometimes we've had earthquakes as high as a 7.7 earthquake. Upwards of a 7.7 earthquake here in the Kermadec Islands. That gives birds heart attacks. Now, I don't know that for a fact. I'm conjecturing. Can you imagine being part of a 7.7 earthquake? Unreal. Today, just north of there, up here in Luvuka, Fiji, or near Luvuka, Fiji, I should say, 266 kilometers east of Luvuka, Fiji, we have a 4.4 moderate earthquake here. Go further to the west here. Solo, Vanuatu, there's a 4.5 earthquake here. A moderate earthquake here. Okay? This is 248 kilometers deep. Still a fairly shallow earthquake. Still a fairly shallow earthquake. No big deal here. Right here. This is Indonesia here, guys. They're showing us 2 earthquakes here in Indonesia. There are 18 earthquakes here in Indonesia. The European agency has shown us 18 earthquakes here. All over this place. This is a 4.4, 136 kilometers deep. This is a 4.5. A 4.5 moderate earthquake south of Java, Indonesia. There are a lot more earthquakes here in Indonesia than they're saying. Again, the USGS is lying to the people. They cannot be trusted. Over here off the northeast side of Mindanao, Philippines. Mindanao, Philippines is the largest island of the Philippines. Okay? Here on the northeastern side, we have another 4.5 moderate earthquake here. USGS calls them light earthquakes. There's nothing light about a 4.5 earthquake. A 4.5 earthquake can be very destructive. It can rattle plates to fall out of cupboards, rattle glassware to fall out of cupboards, knock books and book knickknacks off of shelves, knock pictures and picture frames off of shelves as well. It breaks glass. Moderate earthquakes break glass. I've been part of earthquakes in California where a whole bunch, and I'm talking bunches, of plate glass windows broke in a moderate 4.5 earthquake in Los Angeles in 2014. There are a lot more earthquakes here in the Philippines than they are saying here. I just honestly cannot understand why they have to lie. Lie through their teeth. This is a 4.7 earthquake here. This is in the Mariana Trench over here in the Volcano Islands, southeast of Japan. Southeast of Japan. Going further north on the southeast side of Honshu, Japan, we have a 4.6 earthquake here. This is just east of Tokyo. East of Tokyo. We've had many earthquakes here before. Okay? This is out in the harbor. This is out in the harbor. This is a 4.6 earthquake. We've had 5.1s, 5.7 earthquakes in the same area. This is a 4.6 earthquake near Ichibara, Japan. Ichihara, Japan. Okay? Earthquakes are happening. And these are only a handful of earthquakes. Only a handful of earthquakes. USGS is only reporting one earthquake over here in Afghanistan. There are 3 other earthquakes over here in Tajikistan and Afghanistan here. There are more earthquakes over here in Turkey. Over here in Turkey. A lot more. Can you say 70 earthquakes here in Turkey? Most of them being in the eastern part of Turkey at the Syria-Turkey border? Yeah. How about over here in Greece? Over here in Greece. Northern Greece yesterday had a 5.1 earthquake up here. Northeastern Greece. And there just happened to be 15 aftershocks. 15 aftershocks from that quake. And there's more earthquakes here today. A lot more earthquakes here today. Here in the Greece area here, this region, there are 27 earthquakes here in Greece. 27 earthquakes here in Greece. Incredible. Southern Italy. There are a handful of earthquakes here in southern Italy. Central Italy up here near Marcia, Italy. We have 18 earthquakes up here. 18 earthquakes here. Most of these earthquakes are tremors. 1.1 to 1.9 tremors. There is one minor earthquake. A 2.1 earthquake here. Unreal. Over here in the Alps, in the Italian Alps, there are 4 minor tremors here in the Italian Alps. Over here in Switzerland, in the Alps of Switzerland. There's another tremor here. Fascinating. Fascinating. Over here in Spain, there's a handful of minor earthquakes over here in Spain. Minor tremors over here in the Canary Islands. You go over here to Scandinavia, to southern Finland. There's a 1.7 earthquake over here in southern Finland today. Okay? Now, I want to take you over here to Iceland real quick. I want to show you what's going on in Iceland. USGS is not even talking about this. Heaven forbid they talk about it. Now, what I'm showing you here is what they call the Reykjanes Peninsula. On the southern part of the Reykjanes Peninsula, way over here, 3 years ago, we had a huge volcanic eruption that originated right here. Since then, we've had volcanic eruptions all the way through the Reykjanes Peninsula. All the way up here. All the way up here. Now, folks, there's another volcanic eruption. There's another volcanic eruption here. Yes, it is said it is a fissure eruption. They're calling it a fissure eruption. Now, folks, nothing really bad here. This is nowhere near habitation. Okay? It's right up here near Hagerfeld. Hagerfeld volcano. It's a small fissure eruption. It's smaller than the other eruptions that we've had here. It's not a big deal. Yes, there's been adequate spillage of lava outside the fissure, out onto the landscape. Yes, it is concerning. But right now, no habitations, no dwellings, or anything are in the way of the flow of the magma, of the lava. Okay? I will keep you informed about what's going on. It's not a big deal yet. Richard Smith is in the chat saying there are a lot of things going on. You're right. You are absolutely right. There are so many things going on that I wish I had the time to talk. It would take me hours and hours to expand on exactly what is going on and why you should be concerned about what is happening. Okay? Up here. This is in the Aleutian Islands. Right here in the Aleutian Islands. This is a 4.1 moderate earthquake here. Now, it's very cold up there. Nobody's living anywhere near Adak, Alaska. Okay? This earthquake was out in the open waters here. Nowhere near any of the islands here. A moderate 4.1 earthquake over here near Adak, Alaska. Okay? The earthquakes so far are over here in south central Alaska. Not a big deal. Not a big deal at all. And I will keep you informed when I see anything really out of the ordinary. Okay? Not a real big deal. There's an earthquake up here in central Alaska, north central Alaska. This is a 2.0 minor quake near Birch Creek, Alaska. There is nothing over the Arctic Circle here. There is nothing in the oil gas pumping regions of Alaska up here. There hasn't been anything here in quite some time. Does anybody have any questions for me? Does anybody have any questions for me? Because I'll be free to answer any questions. Not a problem ever. Not a problem ever. Not ever. I just want to make sure that you know what's going on. Don Patoga's asking, they quit drilling up in northern Alaska. No, they're still drilling. They're still drilling, guys. They're not going to stop. They really aren't going to stop. I don't believe that the United States has any intentions of ever stopping drilling in northern Alaska. Okay? I believe it's going to continue for a very long time. I've been watching it. I've been watching the drilling going on in Alaska since I was a kid. I actually wanted to even come up there to see what's going on. Now, anyway, since we have the ability, I want to end talking about earthquakes here, and I want to start talking about the rally in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where President Trump presently is. President Trump is not yet speaking here, but there's a rally going on, and I thought you guys might be interested in watching this rally go forward. It's a very interesting experience. It really is. I've enjoyed going here to rallies myself.
American citizens. We are proud American citizens. And once again, we will be respected by the President of the United States. So tomorrow, for those who have already voted, I thank you. For those who haven't voted, cast that vote. Allow us to return to the freedoms that we had under Donald J. Trump. And there's a second very important position on that ballot, and that is for you as
Just a second, I'll get to
senator. And we have the opportunity to send Dave McCormick to Washington to be our senator. Dave McCormick, the captain of West Point's wrestling team. Dave McCormick, a successful businessman. Dave McCormick, a proud American. Dave McCormick, who will work. Donald J. Trump's going to be our quarterback, but we need Dave McCormick to be that flanker. We need that protection in the U.S. Senate. We have not had that with Bob Casey. We do not have that with Fetterman, but we will have that with Dave. And Dave McCormick will be our successful U.S. Senator. We look forward to doing that. So as I said, we are at a critical junction right now. And each and every one of us here understand how important that is. So if you have voted, take that opportunity and go to one of your neighbors, go to one of your friends, allow them, take them to the polling place, watch their kids, allow them to vote, change the course of history. We are going to do that, and Pittsburgh is going to be the proud component of that. I thank each and every one of you for being here today. Again, roll up your sleeves and work. God bless each and every one of you, and may God continue to bless these great United States of America. Thank you, Pittsburgh.
Ain't America beautiful?
I don't want to get a copyright violation, so I'm going to cut down the music here.
we going to win this election? Oh, you bet. With that kind of energy, we're going to crush this election. Good evening, everybody. I'm Congressman G.T. Thompson. I have the privilege of serving as the Dean of the Pennsylvania Congressional Delegation. I got one question for you. Probably the most important question of the night. Are you ready to elect Donald J. Trump, the 47th President of the United States? You bet. Fight, fight, fight. Well, let's do a little stroll down memory lane. You remember when gas was under $2 a gallon? You remember when you could afford to buy every item on your grocery list? When determining boys from girls was solely based on biology? When Iran, Russia, and Hamas were not threatening the world with war? And when we respected and supported all of our men and women of law enforcement? Well, the common thread there is that was when President Donald J. Trump was the 45th President of the United States. And it's been a long 4 years since he wasn't. Today, our families suffer under the failed leadership of Harris. Let's face it, Kamala Harris broke it, and Trump will fix it. You know, for America to succeed, America must be strong, and Pennsylvania must be strong. And that's not going to happen if Kamala Harris gets another 4 years. It's time to turn the page and close this nightmare book. Let's send her back to San Francisco. Now, how many of you remember Rice-A-Roni? Quite a few. Well, I can honestly say Kamala Harris is no San Francisco treat. All right? You know, since Harris took office, you have spent nearly $25,000 more thanks to her inflation. And this is a tax that, quite frankly, you cannot afford. We cannot afford to go back to those job-killing policies of harmful Harris. A vote for Harris is a vote to end opportunity. But President Trump has always stood with our Pennsylvania families. His policies have meant more money in your pockets and more Pennsylvania jobs. And a strong economy needs a strong workforce. In 2018, I was proud to stand in the Oval Office with President Trump. Now, I'm in Center County. I'm from a town in the metropolis of Howard, Pennsylvania. 600 people, one red light. And yeah, it's a great place. It's home, born and raised. But to be able to have the privilege of standing in the Oval Office with President Trump as he signed into legislation my bill modernizing career and technical education, restoring rungs and a ladder of opportunity. You know, as the first Pennsylvania member of Congress in 170 years to chair the U.S. House Agriculture Committee, I also want to take an opportunity to do a shout out and to thank all of our farmers. A big hand for those who provide us all that we need. These are hardworking folks. They make up our #1 industry in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and they're critical to our economy. These hardworking Pennsylvania farm families provide us with food and fiber and fuel that we depend on each and every day. But our farmers under Harris are struggling with a farm crisis that's creating food insecurity for you and national insecurity for our nation. I have to tell you, having worked closely with the man, President Trump has always had the farmers' back, lowering their costs, reducing their regulatory burdens, and expanding their markets. As Ag Chairman, I look forward to once again working with the farmer's friend, Donald J. Trump, to make agriculture great again. I know, I've seen it personally. President Trump cares about your future. He cares about your family. He cares and loves this nation. And that's why he's willing to serve and sacrifice to run again to be the leader of this nation, to really save this nation from the challenges, the difficulties, and demise under the Harris administration. So I also want to say, I want to thank everyone here for your efforts on voter registration. Just amazing. You know, since President Trump was elected in 2016, Pennsylvania now has 226,000 fewer Democrats than what it did, and over 400,000 registered more Republicans. That is how we make this election too big to rig. I want to do a shout out to just a couple people that are they're American patriots who are running. They're running in this area. A big shout out to State Representative Rob McCurry, who's running for Congress in PA 17. And James Hayes, who's running in PA 12 for Congress. So Pennsylvania, stand united to be Pennsylvania strong and Pennsylvania proud, and stand united to elect Donald J. Trump, the 47th President of the United States. God bless.
United States Secretary of State. Heyo.
I can't play the music because I'd get a copyright violation.
I must have talked about.
Good evening. Good evening, Pennsylvania. It is great to be with you all. Bless you for being out here tonight. Bless you for supporting. Bless you for supporting Donald. J. Trump as he becomes the 47th President of the United States of America. You know, these last 3.5 years have been hard for me to watch. I know it's true for you too. We watched them break so much that has been done. And I often get asked, Mike, what was it like? Like the Washington Post described me as the most loyal cabinet member to Donald J. Trump. I had to remind the president that they did not mean that as a compliment. They asked me, what was it like to serve for President Trump? And I told them, and I've told everyone hundreds of times in these 3.5 years, it was the greatest privilege that Mike Pompeo could ever have. It was a privilege because we had peace. You had prosperity. They didn't fly Chinese spy balloons over the United States of America. Indeed, had they done so, I would have been the former Secretary of State, and rightly so. We understood that peace mattered, that wars were bad, and that our servicemen and women deserved leaders who our adversaries feared and our friends trusted. And it kept you safe. It kept me and my family safe. It made America first again. I was proud to be a part of President Trump's team. I talked to him every day for 4 years, first as CIA director and then as Secretary of State. And what I was so proud of is that we understood the greatness of this nation, and we never once apologized for the United States of America. Not once. Now, President Trump's going to secure our southern border. We will bring peace back to the world. We will take down the Ring of Fire. We will support our friends in Israel, but he's going to need help to do that. President Trump will need help to do that. when you in Pennsylvania have the chance to send that help. I've known Dave McCormick for 40 years, since we were cadets at West Point when I was a much younger man. And when I think of Dave McCormick, who will be the next senator from Pennsylvania, when I think of Dave McCormick, I think about what our founders believed, the men and women who shaped our Constitution and who believed so deeply in American greatness. They were thinking about people just like Dave. They were thinking about people who selflessly served in our military. They were thinking about people who had run businesses and taken risks and grown our economy and created thousands of jobs all across our nation. They were thinking about people with real character and who knew who they were and who, unlike Bob Casey, would actually do something that mattered to you and to your family. Dave will do that, I promise you. Dave is a warrior. He has been a warrior. And as Pennsylvania's next senator, he will be a warrior for you and on behalf of President Trump. And America will be great again. May I welcome to the stage your next senator and my dear friend, Dave McCormick.
Mike Pompeo, great American. Thank you, Mike. Man, I am so glad to see you here in my hometown of Pittsburgh. You know, Mike and I went to West Point. You know, we had a lot in common. He was first in his class, and I was 501st. I want to ask you a question before we get started. Who's ready to put Donald J. Trump back in the White House and fire Joe Biden and Kamala Harris? Get these guys out of here. They're killing us. And who is ready to retire Bob Casey and send Chuck Schumer packing? We got to do it. We got to do it. You know, ever since I can remember, I've had politicians come and say, this is the most important election of your lifetime. Who's heard that? We've all heard it so many times. But I want to tell you, this is the most important election of your lifetime. Just think about it. Can you think of a time where the consequences of getting it wrong were so terrible? Can you think of a time where America was teetering on the edge of the cliff, and if we put the wrong leaders in place, we're going to go over the cliff, and we're going to wake up one morning and we're not going to recognize the America we love, the America we want for our children? This is the most important election of our lifetime. That's why you're here. That's why I'm here. And you know, the choice in front of us could not be more clear. It couldn't be more clear. The choice at the top of the ticket is between strength, the guy you saw in Butler saying, fight, 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 and the weakness, the disgraceful weakness of Biden, Harris, and I'll throw in Bob Casey. Adversaries around the world are testing us. They're challenging us. They think America's weak because of the people that are leading America now. We need a change. But it's not just leadership. It's common sense. President Trump will do common sense things. It's common sense that you can't spend $5 trillion and not get huge inflation, skyrocketing prices that are killing working families. It's common sense. You can't have a wide open border that's letting millions of illegal immigrants come into our country free. Criminals, murderers, rapists, people on the terrorist watch list, people carrying fentanyl. That's common sense. It's common sense that if you have the fourth largest natural gas reserves in the world, right here under our feet in Pennsylvania. You gotta drill it, you gotta frack it, you gotta put it in pipelines, and you gotta share it with the world. And it's common sense that if you want peace, if you don't want the bullies on the playground pushing us around, you gotta be strong. And the only way to have peace is strength. That's common sense. And in Kamala Harris, you have the weak, liberal, extreme agenda. Don't believe me, in her own words. In her own words, she wants to ban fracking and transition energy workers. In her own words, she wants to give citizenships to illegal immigrants and make sure they get federal benefits. In her own words, she wants mandatory buybacks of your guns. In her own words, she wants to defund the police. And in her own words, and this is the one that really ticks off my friends from Bloomsburg, where I grew up, she wants to reduce your red meat consumption. Come on! That's not going to fly in Pennsylvania, right? But listen, President Trump can't do it alone. We need a majority in the Senate. We need a strong leader in the Senate on behalf of Pennsylvania that's going to fight for you and put these common sense policies in place. And here you have another choice. It's a choice between change and the status quo. It's a choice between a seventh generation Pennsylvanian, was born in Washington County, someone who played football and wrestled, in the summers baled hay, trimmed Christmas trees, busboy, paperboy, went to West Point where I wrestled, Ranger School, 82nd Airborne Division, combat tour in Iraq, and a successful business guy. That's what I represent. I represent change. And I'm running against a career politician. 30 years in elected office. When he was first elected, the Macarena was the #1 song on the charts. He has not done anything. When the bullets start flying, he ducks. And he votes 98.6% of the time with the liberal extreme Biden-Harris agenda. And you know what really ticks me off? Someone said to me the other day, they said, "Are you running for the Casey seat?" I said, "Hell no, I'm not running for the Casey seat. He's not entitled to this seat because his dad was the governor. He's not entitled because he's been there 18 years. He has to fight every day to represent Pennsylvania. He has to fight every election to have the honor to represent Pennsylvania. This isn't Casey's seat. This is the people's seat. And the people of our great Commonwealth deserve better than Bob Casey." And so, that's why this election is so important. That's why what we do in the next 24 hours is so important. Right? I wrestled in college. I wasn't the best wrestler, but I always knew if I could get into the third period, within a point or two, I'd win. Because the third period in wrestling, and we're in the third period right now, a couple seconds ago, the third period's not about wrestling. It's about mental toughness. It's about heart. It's about fighting for the last second until the buzzer goes. We need to do that. We need you in the next 24 hours, not just to vote. We need more than voting. We need you to tell 10 friends and 10 friends and 10 more friends. We need you to put up signs. We need you to say lots of prayers. We need you to do everything we can to take back our country. And if we do that, and if you do that, on November 6th, you're going to wake up, and you're going to look back on the day before, and you're going to say, on that day, that is the day that we put new leadership in place, that we changed the direction of our country, that we protected America for our children. Thank you. God bless you. Let's go make Pennsylvania great again. Thank you.
Okay, again, I'm not going to play the music. I don't want to get a copyright violation here. But I'm trying to show you what is going on here at this rally. Do you guys want me to continue this or end this? This is up to you. I can continue this broadcast just as we're doing now so you can see this rally here, or we can end it. What would you guys like to do? They play a lot of music between the speakers, and I can't play that. Thanks, Arnold. We appreciate you. Don says abstain. Do I get a sustaining of his abstention? Do you want to continue to see this rally, or should we end it here?
And we know how incredibly exciting these rallies always are, but we've never seen excitement like this. This is another level. It's the loudest, ever. But we don't mind. We like that. We like that it's loud because that means it's good energy. It's really good energy. Now, we have so many things to get to today, but before we go any further, we got to talk about a couple of our sponsors.
Okay. They've got music going. I don't want a copyright violation here. Diane's asking who else is speaking. I don't know. Mostly people from Pennsylvania. And then Trump is going to speak at the end of it, but most of the things you heard President Trump speak already, he'll be doing here again. Very little of his speeches contain more new information. Do you guys want me to continue here? Diane says continue. Yes, anyone but Taylor Swift, I agree. I could care less whether I ever hear another Taylor Swift song. My wife hates her. In fact, my whole family hates Taylor Swift. Hardhack Farm says they're late, had to take care of their animals, now cooking dinner. That sounds like a plan. What's for dinner? How soon can I be there? Yeah, who's Taylor Slow? Yeah, that's funny. That is funny. Oh, honey garlic chicken stir fry? Oh, that sounds good, Catherine. That sounds really good.
We've been super excited about the self-employed tax credit, also known as the SETC, the game changer, offering the first ever tax credit specifically for self-employed individuals, sole proprietors, 1099ers, single member LLC owners, essentially anyone who filed a Schedule C or Schedule SE in
Okay, the music's continuing. It's up over the speaker. Most of what that speaker is saying we can't even hear because of the music. And yes, he's just another newsman. Probably something easy got to go get got to get up early to go vote. Yeah. Oh, hot wings and a sweet potato? Oh, gosh, that would be good. Yeah, you want a sweet potato and your husband's eating hot wings? That's great. That's my kind of dinner.
Although we say goodbye to the rally campaign era, I hope that we are soon saying hello to a new White House administration.
Oh, Richard says he would love some Carolina Reaper hot wings. Oh, yeah, they're good. They're good. I just can't eat those late at night. Oh, yeah, Catherine, it would be fun to have a potluck with everybody. That would be a kick. I would love that, too. Carol and I would both love that. That'd be a kick in the pants. Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh, yes. I can imagine you guys have been hit with a lot of rain. I've been watching, by the way, there have been some tornadoes hitting over in Oklahoma, southeastern Oklahoma, and parts of Texas. Unreal. Unreal. Yeah, they keep egging it on. They spray the skies, and they manipulate the weather, and it gets worse and worse. That's a bad thing. It gets worse and worse and worse.
As you hear now, this Phantom of the Opera or whatever.
You see, they're saying that Obama claims that Trump is anti-Semitic. No, Obama's anti-Semitic. Obama is prejudiced as all get out. Obama is the worst dirtbag there ever was. Yeah, I can imagine you put all your chickens and your pet rabbits and dove and cat and dog in the shelter. I would too. Absolutely. God protect him. Wow, some snow in New Brunswick already. That almost doesn't surprise me, though. We all are praying for all you guys in southeastern Oklahoma and northern Texas there. You guys are going to see some real bad weather probably going on for the next day or so. We're supposed to be even seeing some real bad weather here starting tonight where I live.
He has answers. He understands the world of business as a businessman.
This is what happens at some rallies, guys. They play a lot of music in between speakers here. My son Paul Colo's here. Way! Hey, Paul, good to see you here. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you, brother. My son Paul is awesome, guys. He is a great son.
In here myself. That's the biggest problem with even in here. But and it's funny. I look around behind us. And
I wish there was some way I could edit out the music behind these guys. Sometimes these news people have something decent to say, but with all this music, I can't put it up on the channel or I'd get a copyright strike. I don't want that to happen. It says here, Biden-Harris delivered more migrants than jobs. By the way, the jobs report that just came out this past week was horrible. Biden and the Harris administration said there were 800 and some thousand jobs when there weren't. There were maybe 10,000 jobs, which is the worst job rating in the country so far this year. The Biden-Harris administration have produced very few jobs at all, which is sad. It's very sad. And by the way, guys, if you guys knew who, there was a famous singer and actor, he died today. Gosh, I can't even remember his name right off the top of my head. But he died today at age 91. Yeah, guys, you guys see our friends here in the chat, our family members here in the chat. They are really live wires. They really are. Richard Smith says he would love a Trump 2024 hat. I have one, but I'd rather have a Make America Great Again hat. That's the one I would like to have. And I'd also like a Trump 2024 shirt. I don't have one yet. And I would wear it everywhere.
Trail. He's been here on the ground in Pennsylvania for so long.
Oh, they're still playing music. Doggone it. Yeah, I wore my Trump hat the other day on the program. Also be advised, Iran is getting ready to attack Israel and the United States. And I've been told that the United States Air Force has shipped over a bunch of B-52 bombers to attack Iran for the first time. So we shall see what we see with Iran. Yeah, I would love to have the Trump merch too. That would be great. Carol and I visited the Republican headquarters here in Burke County today, and they have no Trump shirts left and no hats. They have a governor, a guy who is the lieutenant governor. They have some of his merch, some shirts and stuff, but I don't want his shirt. I would rather have a Trump shirt. Diane Cummins says she just ordered the beer. That's great. That's great.
Fabulous. You know, it sounds to me like the sponsors are ready to celebrate. Between the shot glass, the beer, and the wine, we are ready for a celebration. And I hope you are too. I hope that you are following RSBN on every social media, on Apple, on Google, on Roku, on YouTube, RSBNetwork.com.
Yeah, they still have the they still have the music going here.
I was so surprised when Mark Cuban came out with his "There's no strong women around."
Yeah, if you heard the report, I believe it was yesterday, when Mark Cuban came out and said that President Trump doesn't have any strong women around him, that was wrong. That was so wrong in so many ways. Mark Cuban doesn't have a clue. Mark Cuban doesn't have a frickin' clue.
And it's just not fair because they believe in their country. They believe in patriotism.
Man, I wish they'd stop with all the music in between speakers. It's ridiculous. No, I'm not a fan of Mark Cuban at all. I wouldn't care whether I ever saw him or heard of him again. That's just me. Don Patoka says a missile that was intended for the U.S. was just fired ahead of the election day by North Korea. I don't know where that missile's headed then. Most of the missiles that Cuba has launched have not even made it to the United States at all. Yet I understand that North Korea does have a international ballistic missile that can reach the United States, the southern shores of the United States now. So I hope that that's not the case. I'm hoping that North Korea, little big man down there, North Korea doesn't or isn't able to do that.
America, sadly, don't always understand because they hear the narratives too, and they don't always know what
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the person who was in charge of building Trump Tower was a woman, and there have been several other women. I remember during The Apprentice, President Trump had hired a woman and she turned out to be one of the best on his crew. And yes, there have been a couple. There was one woman that Trump hated her guts, and then she turned on President Trump too. And yes, we have a bunch of subs in the area of South Korea too. And if North Korea did launch a missile at the United States, I'm sure one of our subs has a surface-to-air missile they could launch to take out that missile intended for the U.S. Launched by Korea. Diane Killen is talking about my program that I did on Saturday regarding Peanut the squirrel and his cohort Fred the raccoon. That angered my wife and I, and it angered me on many levels. Number one, I'm an ex-cop, as you guys know. And what the New York police, the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation did there was atrocious. They should not have allowed to be done, having done that. Number one, they violated the terms of the search warrant. They went into that house and ransacked it, number one. Number two, they had no business going into the house and then detaining Mark Longo's wife and asked her questions about her immigration. Her immigration had nothing to do with the search warrant. And so the questions that those New York State police officers asked were in violation of her rights and the violation of the law. And I believe in my heart of hearts that the New York State Police there also had no business doing the search warrant at all. I think the questions about the warrant were out of spite, because Mark Longo and his wife had taken the test to be allowed to be having a conservation license, allowing them to have Peanut the squirrel and Fred the raccoon and any other animals on their farm. And it had nothing to do with Miss Longo's immigration. So they were out of line there. So they could actually end up in a lot of trouble. If I had done that when I was a police officer, they would have fired me. They would have fired me in a heartbeat. Let's listen to Governor Sanders from Louisiana or Arkansas.
Favorite president. You know, when President Trump asked me to be the White House press secretary, I was the very first mom to ever hold that job, and only the third woman. And when the left was relentlessly attacking me, kicking my family out of a restaurant, telling me I was unfit to be a mother, calling me vile, not even human, it was Donald Trump who stood up for me, defended me, and that's exactly what he does for every single one of us every single day. The left loves to talk about empowering women, but they can't even tell you what a woman is. But Donald Trump is not only empowering women, he is empowering every single American to live their best life and do it right here in the greatest country on the face of the planet. He cares about our country. He loves America. This is somebody who took a bullet, got back up, and has never stopped fighting and never will. I think God saved Donald Trump because he's not finished with him yet. And America needs him now more than ever. During the 2.5 years that I served as the White House press secretary, I traveled with the president all over the world. No trip more memorable than December 25th of 2018, when I had the chance to travel on Christmas night with the president on a trip unlike anything we'd ever done before. We boarded Air Force One in total darkness, no lights on the plane, no lights on the runway. And 12.5 hours later, when we touched down in the war-torn part of Western Iraq, it was again a similar scene. No lights on the plane, no lights on the runway. The only light you could see was coming from about a mile away of where we had landed. You see, there was light coming from that location because hundreds of troops had packed into a small dining hall. They had absolutely no idea that the President of the United States was about to step into that room. And when he, a sight and a scene and a sound unlike any other unfolded. You had men and women from every part of the country, every race, every religion, every political party, every demographic you can imagine represented in that room. But in that moment, in one perfect voice, in total unity, they chanted over and over and over again, USA, USA, USA. It was an absolutely perfect picture of what makes America so incredible. You have people willing to put everything on the line so that we could live free in the greatest country the world has ever seen. And we have a president that understands it and is willing to fight to protect it. The reason America is the greatest country the world has ever known is because we're the freest country that the world has ever known. And we need a president who will stand up for that and make sure we have the ability to protect that freedom, preserve that freedom, and pass it on to the next generation. And that is exactly what Donald Trump will do every single day. But he needs your help to get there. We have to send a strong, clear message. And you can do that by voting for Donald Trump and sending him back to the White House, and that has to happen right here. America needs Donald Trump in the White House, and no pressure, but we're counting on you to send him there. Thank you so much for being here tonight. God bless you, and God bless our great country. Thank you.
Okay, I cut the music off again. I don't want a copyright strike, and that's what I feel might happen. So I'm cutting the music off. Sorry about that. Those of you that might like that music or might like to enjoy hearing it, I can't play it. I don't have the license for it. But yes, that was what I believe that the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, I think they were wrong. I think they were dead wrong. And then they ransacked their home and everything else. They had no reason to do that. That was out of line. Completely out of line. Should never, never have happened.
The night before the most important election of our lives. There's no place else I'd rather be than here with you, standing proud to support the President of the United States, who is fighting for the people, who is fighting for peace, and who has in his heart putting America first. You know, the most important quality that I look for in any elected leader, but especially the President of the United States, is someone who wakes up every single day asking himself, what can I do for the American people? I just spent the first half of the day before I came here in Western North Carolina, and we went through different areas in Asheville and the surrounding communities where people are still suffering and struggling in the wake of Hurricane Helene. And I was moved almost to tears many times as people shared with me their stories of loss, the funerals that they are going to for their loved ones who were killed in that disaster. There was a firefighter that gave me this bracelet with tears in his eyes in memory of his battalion chief, Tony Garrison, whose end of watch was on September 27, 2024, because he went out to save someone's life and brought them back. He heard that there was someone else who needed help, went out, rescued them, and brought them back. They said, my parents are still out there, please go and help them. He went out to find them and never came back. On the bottom of this black bracelet, it says, greater love has no one than this, that a person will lay down his life for his friends. We have a president in Donald Trump who's willing to lay down his life for us. It meant the world to the people in Western North Carolina that he showed up there for them. It meant the world to people in different parts of the country, like East Palestine, Ohio, when he showed up for them. That's the difference between President Trump and Kamala Harris. Anyone who has spent a moment with President Trump understands how much he cares about the people, how much he cares about us. I can tell you as a soldier, someone who's been deployed multiple times to different war zones, someone who proudly wears the uniform, he cares about our men and women in uniform. He is committed to ending wars, not starting them. He is committed to truly bringing about peace and having the courage and the strength to stand up against the warmongers in Washington. Our choice in this election and the victory we need to deliver for President Trump tomorrow is the choice between Kamala Harris and 4 more years of tyranny, poverty, and war, and more war. Or in President Trump, someone who will stand up and defend our freedom and put us back on that path towards peace and prosperity. Let's deliver that victory for Donald Trump tomorrow. Send him back to the White House where we can all join him to make America great again. Thank you all so much for your love of our country. Thank you for defending freedom. Let's make it happen.
I don't know who's going to speak next, but I'm hoping that instead of playing music for a half hour, 40 minutes, that they will bring on another speaker. That's what I'm hoping. These rallies can be exciting, but they're also kind of crazy. Catherine, I'm sorry your daughter called. My son also called, but he saw that his mother said I was on the air, and so he joined us here on the chat. My wife is probably monitoring our program tonight. She's downstairs, and I know she fixed me something good to eat downstairs. But you guys got to know one thing. I love my wife. She's so cool. And you've seen her sometimes, occasionally here on camera. She's awesome. She's a lot of fun. And she does a lot of things for all of you behind the scenes that most of you will never know about. Number one, because she won't tell us, and she won't allow me to tell you. She's quite a lady. She's quite a lady. And we also have Laura Marie, one of my dearest friends here that I've known for more years than I want to even think about. Welcome here, Laura. We appreciate you being here as well. Thank you for joining us here on our program tonight. Don is asking, where's Texas Lady? I don't know. I haven't seen Texas Lady since we saw her for a very brief time last night. She used to be on the air with us almost every day. I just haven't seen her in a very long time. Apparently our Border Patrol is making migrant arrests at the border jump. 58,000 in this last month before the election. 58,000 arrests at the border. That's huge. That is huge, guys. Yes, H-Pup, you're right. The Rallies like a Grateful Dead show, but without all the hippies and drugs. You're absolutely right. These guys, these rallies that President Trump puts on here, you can see that every seat in the place is packed. Every seat in every arena that I've ever seen him do a rally in, every seat is packed. The arena is packed to the gills. President Trump doesn't have to pay people to get on buses to come see him, but Kamala does. That's another reason Kamala Harris needs to take a flying leap and disappear. She pays people to get on buses. She lies to her people and tells them that if they come to her rally, they will see a free concert. Twice now within the last month that's happened, and twice there's been no concert. Kamala can't tell us the truth. Never will. Richard sent a card. That's great. Thank you, guys. We appreciate you and Teresa for doing that. Thanks, Rich. That means a lot. God bless you. Yeah, I know. Guys, I feel the same way about Carol. I wouldn't be able to accomplish all the things I do without Carol. She keeps my schedule straight. She writes things down that I would have forgotten. It's funny. It's funny. Ruth St. John's here. Welcome, Ruth. Appreciate you being here. Thank you for joining us. That means a lot. We're watching one of President Trump's rallies over in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We're waiting for President Trump to speak here at his rally. I think that's one of the things that's leading up to him coming on. I think when we see his son Don Jr. come up, then we will see President Trump join the rally here at any moment. Okay? I'm hoping that's the case. Tomorrow night we will have the results of the election. I will be going on the air at 6 p.m., just 1 hour before the polls close here on the East Coast. And I will be coming on the air to talk about earthquakes and whatever else. But after 7 o'clock, we hopefully will start to see the results of yesterday or tomorrow's election. Hopefully. So that's our plan for tomorrow. Talk about earthquakes and things, everything else that's going on between 6 and 7 p.m. And then at 7 p.m. we will join the Right Side Broadcast Network for the results of the election tomorrow night. Thank you, Ruth. I appreciate that. She says I'm a blessing to you all. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yet it doesn't surprise me that Kamal would pay influencers to talk lies about her. That's not surprising at all. I've kind of seen the same thing. I don't know that she's paid some of the people I've heard about, but she has paid rally goers money to go to her rallies, and she's lied about the singers that are going to be at her rally, saying, oh, they're going to put on a concert when they're not. I can't stand that. I've never been to a single concert yet or a rally yet where there was supposed to be a concert and there wasn't. If that happened, I would never trust a cotton picking one more celebrity. Oh, here he comes. Here comes President Trump now. I don't want to get a copyright violation here, but President Trump is about to join us here on stage. Diane Kilmer says she refuses to watch Fox. That doesn't surprise me. Carol and I don't watch any of the regular channels at all. Yes, we do watch the Home Improvement Channel, HGTV, and a few things like that, but that's all. We just don't watch those other channels at all. It's not worth it to us. We don't like to watch the news channels at all. I suppose if there was something, an absolute emergency or something that happened that all of us would want to know about, yes, then and only then would I watch that program. But I refuse to watch ABC, CBS, or NBC. I refuse to watch CNN. I refuse to watch Fox. Yes, I do get programs from Fox, and that if it has anything to do with me or something that I need to know, yes, I'll watch those programs off of my telephone or my computer, but to watch the channel, no, I don't do that. We don't watch news here at all. Not going to happen. Again, here we're just waiting for Trump to get up to the podium to start speaking to us tonight. Lee Greenwood is singing I'm Glad to Be an American.
This is fantastic. A very, very special hello to Pittsburgh. And Pennsylvania. I went to school in Pennsylvania. I know everything about Pennsylvania. I love Pennsylvania. I'm thrilled to be back in this incredible, it is incredible. Is it incredible? This incredible Commonwealth with thousands of proud, hard-working American patriots and hard hats. People have no idea how smart they are. These are great people, let me tell you, I love them. I'd like to begin by asking a very, very simple and easy to understand question. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? Does anybody disagree? It's dangerous, don't do it. But over the past 4 years, Americans have suffered one catastrophic failure, betrayal, and humiliation after another. Kamala Harris has delivered soaring prices and economic anguish at home, war and chaos abroad, and nation-destroying invasion on our southern border like nobody's ever seen before. She's actually a disaster. My message to Americans tonight is simple. We do not have to live this way. We don't. We don't. And we won't. We won't. We do not have to settle for weakness, incompetence, decline, and decay. With your vote tomorrow, we can fix every single problem our country faces and lead America, and indeed the whole world, to new heights of glory. It will help the world. A lot of people think we're isolationists. We're not. But we want the world to appreciate what we're doing. They have to appreciate that we're helping them. When we win election, only one day, oh, does that sound nice? One day from now. Oh. We've been waiting for 4 years for this. 4 years. Right? Look at all these senators. Look at all these senators and congressmen. We've been waiting 4 years. Oh, now it's what I've been saying. Only 1 year from now. Only 6 months from now. It's 6 months. 6 months. Even when I said only 10 days, it still sounded tomorrow. I will end inflation. I will stop the invasion of criminals coming across our border, and we will stop it rapidly. I will strengthen our military. And as you know, we totally rebuilt our military, but now it needs a little strengthening after giving a big chunk of it to Afghanistan. Figure that out. Figure that one out. I will restore peace in the world, and I will rescue the American dream. Together we will begin the 4 greatest years in the history of our country, and we will launch the most extraordinary economic boom the world has ever seen, and we'll do it by utilizing the assets that we have. If you vote for Kamala, you will have 4 more years of misery, failure, and disaster. Our country may never recover. Vote for me and I will deliver rising wages, soaring income, and a colossal surge of jobs, wealth, and opportunity for Americans of every race, religion, color, and creed, every one of them. A vote for Trump means your groceries will be cheaper. So many people mention, I go in, so many people mention groceries, that beautiful but simple word, groceries. Sir, my groceries. You don't think of it that way, but that's what they mention more than anything, my groceries. Your paychecks will be higher, your streets will be safer and cleaner. Your communities will be richer, and your future will be brighter than ever before. This will be the golden age of America. Just a few months ago, in a beautiful field in Pennsylvania, not far from where we are tonight, an assassin tried to stop our movement. And this is the greatest political movement by far in the history of our country. Tried to stop it. But that brush with death did not stop us. It only made us more determined to finish the job that we had only just started. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. This is a frisky group. Many people say that God saved me in order to save America. Many, many people are saying that. And with your help, we will fulfill that extraordinary mission together. We're going to save our country. But many, many people have said that. To every citizen across this land, I am asking for the honor of your vote. I don't want your money. I don't want anything. I just want your vote. We are on the 5-yard line. I would actually say we're on the 1-yard line if you want to really know the thing. And some of the, oh, that's a lot of fake news back there. Look at that. You know, for a person that they hate, they sure do show up, right? Man. That's a big group of people. Some are actually good and some are just absolutely terrible. All right, thank you for being here. It shows that ratings are more important than hatred. Breath in my body, I will fight. Together we will save this country. We will defeat the corrupt system in Washington, and America's future will be an absolutely incredible one. That's what it is. But we got to start immediately. It can't wait any longer. It's not going to be possible. This is all you really need to know. It's simple, not particularly beautiful as a statement, but very simple. It's Kamala broke it. I will fix it. Thank you. And I don't know if you know, but Kamala has a little rally going on. And when I say little, I mean little. It's a competing rally. It's not this giant place that's sold out. What a beautiful, this is a beautiful place. But, and it's quite embarrassing. It's all over the internet. She's screaming. And the people, it's about 100 people, they're not moving. They just want to go home, just be done. It's not quite this. You see the front row? You have a lot of front row Joes. We have more front row Joes here than she's got at her big rally. This was the big one. No, it's a whole hog. She tried to get stars to come in and they wouldn't do it, actually. She'd go and get Beyonce. No. Beyonce would come in. Everyone's expecting a couple of songs. And there were no songs. There was no happiness. It's just like, give me my check. I want to get out of here. But you always put the star, she should have learned this from Crooked Hillary, always put the star after you. That way the people stay. Finish your speech, let the star, and even if she doesn't sing, they booed like hell, but the press didn't play that. They booed both of them the hell out of the stadium. But you know what? Even though the act was terrible, it's like by that time you're out of the building, like Elvis had left the building. Elvis has left the building. No, it's terrible. They obviously forgot to get a star tonight, but we don't need a star. We don't need stars. I never had a star. No. We don't need a star. Just to bring it back into seriousness, we don't need a star because we have policy. We have great policy. We have great policy. No, we do have great policy. Look, they have horrible policy. They've got a machine that's incredible. They've got a vicious, horrible, horrible group of people, a machine where they can have open borders and let people pour into the country. They can have transgender operations at any age, anytime you want. They can be pushing men playing in women's sports. And because because she's just a vessel, and Joe Biden was just a vessel, it's a group of very powerful people that are probably people that hate our country and they want to destroy our country. Somebody said, are they dumb? Well, who would have these? It's embarrassing when I say, we will keep men out of women's sports. I'm saying, can you imagine saying that 10 years ago? They'd say, this guy's cracked up. This guy's crazy. Who the hell's going to have men playing? Did you see the Olympic boxing where two people who transitioned, they transitioned from men to women, and just a light jab. That was the end of that one. You know, a jab, for those that don't know, but that's just sort of like a defensive punch. And the young lady who's a champion walked back to the court. She was from Italy, beautiful young lady, which I'm not allowed to say. You can't say beautiful, so I'll take beautiful. But she was a beautiful young. In politics, you're not allowed to call a woman beautiful anymore. It's the end of your career. So please delete the word beautiful. Thank you very much. Well, 60 Minutes deleted the whole damn answer. What? So I'm allowed to do that, aren't I, Susan Wiles? But America will be bigger, better, bolder, richer, safer, and stronger than ever before. Tomorrow you have to stand up and tell Kamala that you've had enough, you can't take it anymore. She's the least talented person we've ever seen in government. She allowed our borders to be open. She's allowed bad things to happen. She allowed a man who is grossly incompetent to remain in the most important position of any country in the world when they're talking nuclear weapons and they're talking wars. And she still says, oh no, I didn't notice anything wrong. If she didn't notice anything wrong, then she's got a bigger problem than he has. So we don't like it, Kamala. We don't like what you've done. You're the worst vice president in history. He's the worst president in history. Kamala, you're fired. Get out. Get out. You're fired. See, I consider all those guys back there with the big muscles, and it's not my thing, but I consider them really beautiful to me. They're beautiful people, and they are productive people. They make our country work and run. They built our country, they did. And then you had stupid politicians that let them down. And those companies got taken out of Pittsburgh and every place else, like you take candy away from a baby. But now we have the exact opposite. If we win Pennsylvania, we will win the whole thing. It's very simple. And I do believe it is, I say you have to make, I do believe it is too big to rig. I think it's too big to rig. They'll try. And they are trying, you know, though. It's too big to rig. This is a big movement. This is, you know, we did great in 2016. We did much better in 2020, but a lot of bad things happened. He turned out to be a brilliant candidate from his basement that nobody ever heard. No, this is that big, powerful, vicious party. No, it's a vicious machine. I mean, they can take all these bad ideas and win elections. It's like there's only a way you could do that. One way. There's only one way. But you know what it did teach us? In one way it was good because it taught us how bad a communist philosophy is, how bad a Marxist philosophy, how bad all of this stuff is. And we'll really be able to get our country back the way it should be. It's much easier because you're going to realize how bad it is. It's just what's happening. When we go over the economy and the economic numbers over the last week, It's Herbert Hoover stuff, and I never wanted to be Herbert Hoover. Let me just tell you, the one president I didn't, and there was some that I wouldn't want to either, but in particular because I'm very good at business. I've always been good at business. They're starting to realize that those guys back, they wanted me to be bad, so bad. But now they're saying, this guy's shit, man, he's been a lot. But listen, so, and if I'm not good enough, Elon Musk is good enough because he is working so hard. Elon with that rocket. Think of that rocket 2 weeks ago coming down and those engines are blasting. And I said, man, a few days ago it left, it was a beautiful crystal white. Now it's all like fire blazing. They know about that. Like it went through a steel furnace, by the way, but that's what it did. 10,000 degrees coming down at like 20,000 miles an hour. So think of it, a car's going 90, you're going, this is like 20,000 miles coming down, 22-story building. And it stops, starts flipping around, starts finding this crazy site in the middle of wherever it was. And I told this story, I hope I don't bore you with it, but I had this guy on the phone. I told it at another rally, and I don't want to bore. Did anybody hear this story? Should I tell it again? It's quick. I hate to tell it again. I hate to double up, but this is so I'm talking to this guy, one of the most important people in the nation, in his mind, only in his mind. And because I was president, and they say most likely like about a 96.2% chance. Well, we can't remember, if you remember 2016, I was given a 3% chance of winning. And then I won Florida, and it went to, think of it. So she was at 97, and I was at 3. Then she was at won Florida, she went down to 92. Then I won Georgia, then I won North Carolina, then I won South Carolina, then I ran the whole East Coast. And then people started going crazy. Remember the woman with the glasses? That big head of hair? She was screaming. I said to my beautiful wife, why is she screaming? We're going to make America great. Why is she screaming? But she was not too happy. I wonder whatever happened to that woman. She became famous. They were going crazy. Then she had a 55% chance. Then it was a 49% they went crazy. But that was something. So based on what I'm hearing, he's at right now 4%. She's at 4%. And so we never want to take anything for granted. But we're really doing well. If you vote, here's the story. We have the ball. It's ours to win. The only thing I ask is that you go out and vote. Because if you vote, we're going to win. And believe the fake news when they say, this is going to be tight, this is right. It's really not tight. But they want to do that because they want to get ratings. They want everybody to watch. But you got to do this. You got to just forget those people because they don't tell the truth, okay? No. Well, actually, I didn't even correct them because it's actually better if let everyone think it's going to be tight as hell. But whether it is or not doesn't matter. You have to go out and we have to swamp them. Everybody's got to vote. So over the past 4 years, Kamala has orchestrated the most egregious betrayal that any leader in American history has ever inflicted upon its people. She has violated her oath, eradicated our sovereign border. This is a sovereign border. Unleashed an army of gangs and criminal migrants from prisons and jails, the toughest people there are. And I was here with a great group just the other night. I was in Penn State territory, and we had a packed room. We had a packed, not room, it was a stadium, the place. You know, I always like to say when I come to the arenas, how many times could we have sold it out? In if you look at where we were in Wisconsin, Milwaukee, we had a brand new, gorgeous big arena. We could have sold it out 10 times. I'm telling you, we could have sold out Madison Square Garden 5 or 6 times. 5 or 6 times. And I always view it that way. But we had situations where, and we put up videos of the vicious cops. I don't put them up anymore. You know why? Because the fake news refuses to put them on. And I have friends call me, they love to watch the rallies. They can't get enough of them. And they're like, President, it's so terrible. You're speaking, and then you put up a video on a screen right behind you, and the fake news refuses to, all they have to do, they don't put it on television. They have the thing on every one of the stations, and there's one that doesn't, which is good, but people think they do. Nobody can figure that one out, I'm sure. They don't treat me good, but that's okay. But listen, they can't move the television. They can't move. All they have to do is take that camera and go like this, 1 inch over, 1 inch up, and you'd be able to see the screens, but you can't see them. So I don't really bother with it anymore. It's a terrible thing. We have to get them to straighten out, because I think without a free and fair press, it's very hard to do what we want to do. It's a very hard thing. Very hard thing to do. But they're allowing people to come in from insane asylums and mental institutions from all around the world, from Venezuela to the Congo in Africa. They're stealing our jobs, and they're stealing countless American lives. They're killing a lot of people, much more than you're reading about. The day I take office, the migrant invasion ends and the restoration of our country begins. Oh, those Penn State guys, I wanted them to wrestle the migrants. I told, the UFC, Dana White, they killed me in this. I told Dana, to set up your League of Champions, unbelievable, best fighters in the world, and a migrant league. At the end, I want the migrant to go against the champion, and I think the migrant might actually win. That's how nasty some of these guys are. But I don't know. I doubt that. I tell you, I felt very comfortable with those big Penn State wrestlers. Think of that. They won. How good is this coach? They won, in the last 13 years, they won 11 national titles. They won the title this year. And I had them up. I brought them up in the stage at Penn State. I was at Penn State. The place was packed. And I said to them, fellas, you may be like the only guys in the country that can beat the hell out of the migrants. It's true. They're the only ones that could beat the migrants in a fight. These are tough people. These are people who've been in jails. They're killers. They're murderers. The level of viciousness is unexcelled. And it's from all over the world, not just from South America. So we love being there. I was just 2 days ago. We love being there. We love seeing these young guys. These guys were great. But they won 11 out of 13 titles, and it's called Pennsylvania. Here we are, right? It's one of those things. They're pretty good. But we have to stop, because the United States is now an occupied country. We're an occupied. Can you imagine somebody getting up and making a statement? We are an occupied country. When you look at what's happening in Aurora, when you look at what's happening in all places, Springfield, how about Springfield, Ohio? We're an occupied country, and those are just the places you hear about, but they're taking over large sections of the country. In Colorado, remember Colorado? They're the ones that started the movement. The governor, the weak, pathetic governor of Colorado, he's a radical leftist, and he's afraid of the people, the gangs from Venezuela. He's afraid of them. He's afraid to do anything. He's lost control of his state. But he was the one that wanted to have Trump taken off the ballot, even though I was leading all of the Democrats, all of the Republicans at the time. I was number one. And they went to the United States Supreme Court and got a 9-0 approval, but that Trump has the right to run for president. He wanted me off the ballot. And the people in Colorado, And the people in Colorado, and you know who is more angry than the Republicans? The Democrats, the regular, not the politician Democrats. And they showed me with polls where I was leading in a state that normally, well, of course, you know, they have all mail-in voting, so, you know, you can't count too much on that. But if you didn't have, if God would come down from heaven, if God would come down and be the vote counter just for one night, he'd only take 1 second, because, you know, God works faster. God works faster, Megan, than anybody else I can imagine. Right? So we only need God for 1 second. He'll do the job. He'll do the job and he'll be gone. You'd see we'd win a lot of these places. California sends out 38 million ballots. They send them out all over the place. They come back. Nobody knows what the hell is happening. Some people get 8 ballots, some people get 5, and some only get 2 or 3. And I went to California, we had a rally, we had 107,000 people show up. I said, there's no way I would lose. And I do well with Hispanics. A poll just came out. I'm at 56% with Hispanics compared to this woman who was at 36%. How about that? I think the Green Party got more than she did. I love the Green Party. Jill Stein, this may be one of, I never met her, but she may be one of my favorite politicians. But it will soon be, think of it, we're an occupied country, but it will soon be an occupied country no longer. It's not going to be an occupied country. November 5th, 2024 will be Liberation Day in America. On day one, I will launch the largest deportation program of criminals in the history of our country. And I don't want to do that. I'm not looking to do that. I think it's terrible to do, but we have no choice. These are murderers. 13,099 put out by the Border Patrol, who, by the way, 2 weeks ago gave me the best endorsement you've ever seen. They said, I'm the greatest president in American history. And I said, does that include George Washington and Abraham Lincoln? Yes, sir, it does. When they say that, they're all in, right? Better than Lincoln or Washington, who would have thought? I wonder what my parents say up there. Hi, Mom. I know my mother's up there. My father's a little bit, it's in dispute. He would be up there. He was a strong guy, but he was a good guy. But I will rescue every city and town that has been invaded and conquered. Can you imagine? We're talking about, these are military invasions without the uniforms. That's all it is. And we will put the vicious and bloodthirsty criminals in jail or kick them the hell out of our country as fast as we can. And to expedite removals of the Tren Aragua gang and the MS-13 gangs, equally as vicious. You know, MS-13 took 2 beautiful teenage girls walking to school in Long Island for some reason. We took them out by the thousands. ICE. She wants to defund ICE. ICE, they're tough as hell, and they're also people that love our country. They took 2 young girls, and they sliced them into pieces as they were walking. They sliced them into, they didn't shoot them because that's too quick. They sliced them up and left them dead. 2 young, beautiful girls walking to school. And ICE did their business. ICE went in and took care of them. But can you imagine? And now she wants to defund ICE. Let's defund ICE. No, these are rough people. These are bad people. I will invoke, and this is how far we had to go back, because in those days they didn't play games. I will invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to target and dismantle every migrant criminal network operating on American soil. And if they come back into our country, it's an automatic 10 years in jail with no possibility of parole. And I am hereby calling for the death penalty for any migrant that kills an American citizen or a law enforcement officer. Right? And I will ban all sanctuary cities in the United States of America. And I am going to immediately do something that nobody's ever heard before. And I've wanted to do it for a long time, but I don't want these guys to do it because they won't do it properly. We will immediately stop the drugs pouring across our border. We lose 300,000 people. You don't lose 90. They've been saying 90, 90, 90. We lose 300,000. Everybody in this room knows people that were devastated. Their children mostly, but the parents too, they die. Fentanyl, they put a piece, take a pin, put a little tiny piece of fentanyl in the top of that pin, and that can kill 5 people. Put a little bit more, it can kill the entire town. This is what we're dealing with. Everybody I know is losing sons, children to fentanyl. We lose not 100,000, we lose probably much more than 300,000. So essentially that's a war, right? That's a war. We don't lose that many soldiers if you're in wars. So we lose 300,000 people a year to drugs entering from Mexico. And if they don't stop this poison from flooding into our country, and they can stop it by not accepting it from China, and I'm doing the same thing with China, we're going to tariff the hell out of them. And Mexico, you know, people are surprised to hear this. Mexico is our largest trading partner. And if we put even a small tariff on, like 10, 15%, you're talking about tens of billions of dollars, and they're not going to want to have that long. And they're strong. They can stop it if they want. They can do it if they want. They'll probably have to make a deal with the cartels, because the cartels totally run Mexico, totally. It's terrible things are happening in Mexico. But we're going to put a tariff on Mexico if they don't immediately stop sending that horrible stuff into this country. And likewise, we're doing it with China. If China doesn't stop, you know, I had a deal with President Xi, who was going to give the death penalty, because in China they give the death penalty. When I first met, and I had a great relationship until COVID, until I call it the China virus, I'd like to be more accurate. I had a great deal and a great relationship with President Xi, really great. He came to Mar-a-Lago, we spent a lot of time, we had a very good relationship. He's a strong man, he's a fierce person, you know. People said, what's he like? He's fierce. There's nobody in Hollywood that could play his role, believe me. And I say that with respect. But I said to him, you're killing a lot of people by sending fentanyl into our country. I said, how many people do you lose a year with drugs? No, nobody. I said, what do you mean nobody? No, we have no problem with drugs. Why? We have a quick trial. What is a quick trial? I mean, I know what a quick trial is. What is a quick trial? If we catch a drug dealer, we bring him to a quick trial. He said, we bring him to a quick trial. And they're almost always found guilty. And then we send the bullet home to the family, and the family must pay us for the bullet. Can you believe this? This is a little different than our country. In our country, they'd lawyer up, they'd be going to trial for 30 years. But they have no drug, they have zero drug problem. And I said, I want you to do me a favor. And we made a deal. You're killing our people, and that's going to end up in bad things for you, really bad for you. Not for you, can't get any worse for us. I said, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to give the same death penalty to those people that are sending fentanyl into the United States. And if you don't do that, I'm going to tariff the hell out of your shit coming into the United States. And guess what? He agreed to do it. We had an agreement, and then we had a very bad election, a horrible election. Think of the difference, how different our country would be. You wouldn't have had the fentanyl problem. You really wouldn't. You wouldn't have had inflation, because they did that by screwing around with my energy. We had energy at $1.84. It was $1.87. It was corrected by the federal government. I was at $1.84. We had all of these things. You wouldn't have had October 7th in Israel. All those people would be alive today. The hostages, most of whom are no longer living. Think of it. Russia would not have attacked Ukraine, wouldn't have happened. But Israel wouldn't have happened because Iran was broke. I said you can't buy any oil from Iran. Anybody that buys oil from Iran can't deal in the United States. We don't do business with you. China stopped it. I told that to presidency. If you buy oil, they were the primary customer. If you buy 1 barrel of oil, 1 barrel from Iran, you're not doing any business with the United States. We'll go cold turkey, which some people like anyway. And you know what? They said, all right, they didn't. Nobody did. I said that to 45 different countries. They weren't selling anything. They were essentially broke. They wanted to make a deal so badly. And then we had that bad election, that horrible, disgusting, worst thing that ever happened to the country was that election. And I left, and they didn't follow up the deal that I made. And the fentanyl is now pouring into Mexico at numbers, and more people are dying, and it comes across this open border, and we're taking in more drugs, human smuggling, all women, setting records. Bring up my all-time favorite chart, if it's possible to find. Where is that all-time favorite? So the red arrow on the bottom, that's the lowest. It's done by the Border Patrol, not by me. It looks like something done by me, doesn't it? But that was my last day in office. Look at the red arrow. That was the lowest that we've ever had. Drugs, it includes drugs, but drugs and human trafficking, but mostly illegals coming into the United States of America. Look at that number, and it would have gone down. All they had to do is leave it alone, leave the people we had, Brandon Judd, all these great people. Tom Homan was consulting me. And all these great people, that's all they've done in their life, and we had it down to a science. The drugs were coming in at the slowest rate. But we had illegals almost stopped. By now they would have been literally stopped. And by the way, we want people to come into our country, but they have to come in legally. They have to come in legally. They have to show they can love our country. They have to show that they didn't murder 7 people along the way. But that's the lowest point, and I love that chart. Even if it was bad numbers, which is not, but even if it was horrible numbers, I would love that chart so much. That chart was right over there. It never was over there, and it was never over there because I always do this toward the end of a speech, not the beginning. I looked over there at that chart, and I said, what the hell was that? Yeah. So that was pretty amazing. But, you know, I do want to tell you one quick story. So I'm in Detroit. And Mexico is getting rather rough with us in terms of trade, and we're not going to take it. We don't have to take it. We have a good trade deal, but nobody knows how to use it because they're stupid people. And Mexico is doing things that aren't good. And China's using Mexico as a subchapter S corporation practically. China's putting a lot of money into. They're running things pretty good, and they're going to build the largest auto plant. I was making a speech at the Detroit Economic Club, but a year and a half ago, it looked like I was going to run, and I wanted to go see an auto plant because we're getting screwed on autos. I mean, everyone's moving their plants over. Actually, Elon built a big plant in Texas. Okay, we like it. Right? Elon built a very big plant in Texas. We got to give credit. We love Elon. He gave me another of the greatest. You know where he is right now? He's in another part of your state. He's now in Pennsylvania campaigning for Donald Trump because he thinks it's the single most important thing. And he said something to me that was interesting. Because nobody knows computers. That rocket I was telling you about, the way it laid down, he said it's all computers operating the engines. The engines are the easy part. He said the computers, it's tremendous computerization, the way it just shifted it over, so beautiful. But I said to him, what do you think about it? Because he really is watching this whole voting process. And he said, computers are the greatest. He looked at some that were just shipped in, some of these vote counting computers. He knew it before it even came in the door. He looked like at the back of it. Oh, I know that one. I mean, he knows he knows this stuff better than him. And he actually said, and this is for the good of everybody, it's the good of mankind, essentially. If you look at France, if you look at all these, they had their mail-in voting. They all gave it up. Nobody does like we do. And Gavin Newsom, look at Gavin Newsom. So now not only is voter ID good, if you're an official and you ask somebody for voter ID, I'd like to see your voter ID, you have committed a criminal act. You know? The mere asking, he just signed the bill. That's right, Megan, isn't it? The mere asking, this guy just signed the bill, and an official says, I'd like to see your voter ID. He's guilty of a crime. This is crazy. And there's only one reason they want to do that, because they want to cheat. But Elon Musk said to me, I hope I'm allowed to say this, I think I am, because one thing, he's out there. He's a guy who just wants the truth. He's an incredible guy. And he said, computers aren't meant for this kind of stuff. He said, there's only one thing you can do. He's the most sophisticated guy in the world when it comes to computerization. He said, the only thing you can do is paper ballots, same-day voting. You know, paper is very sophisticated. Watermark. It's very sophisticated. Paper ballots, voter ID, one-day voting, not 10 days where you say, oh, let's